So hello, everybody in virtual land. Welcome, 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 and congratulations to our admitted students. For those of you who don't know me yet, I am Amy Mangione. I'm the Assistant Dean for Admissions here at Albany Law, and I have been enjoying corresponding with you and getting to know you over the past months in the application process, and I look forward to getting to know you even further still. This is we're just so excited to sort of finally get to see you. We've always been chomping at the bit. This is one of our favorite days of the year, Accepted Students Days. I think if you ask anybody on campus, they'll tell you it's one of their favorite days of the year. And just because this is different and it's virtual this year, it doesn't make that any less true. So we're just really excited to see you all today. This is a very exciting time for you and for us. I mean, I remember well when I was anticipating law school, but we do know that there's a lot to adapting to life during this pandemic. This decision is only one piece of that, and there may, we sort of have a deep appreciation for that. There may be disappointments and distractions. There's definitely uncertainty. We're really sorry that you're going through all of that, and we're definitely here to support you. But today, I also hope you'll understand that you get to see that it doesn't all have to be uncertain. It's very possible to feel solid about your law school decision, even if you have not had an opportunity to visit the physical campus yet. In fact, later today, you're going to get to meet some of our current students who did just exactly that. And they are all very happy and successful here at Albany Law. So it doesn't all have to be fear, and it can be a lot of great, exciting times as long as you just sort of access the information, and we're going to make sure you do that. I can tell you that this year's application cycle has been a particularly competitive one. You are counted among a group of impressive peers that you'll be lucky to learn, work, live, and even play with. I will tell you that there is room for play in law school as long as you're doing it right. So it's not easy to earn a seat where you are. And so today we acknowledge your hard work and your accomplishments. So a little virtual round of applause, right? Everybody's here for you. So congratulations and welcome. I want to thank you for the confidence that you have shown in us by applying and by showing up here today. We think that you're going to begin to see why that confidence is well placed. This is a great time for you to begin to sort of identify the ways that we can help you achieve your individual goals. Those might be goals that you've already shared with us candidly in the application process. They may also be goals that you haven't even fully realized yet. Either way, we're going to help you get there. Today and in the coming weeks, you'll have a chance to be introduced to a broad cross-section of our Albany Law family, or now your Albany Law family, and we'll highlight for you the great resources and opportunities available to you here and help you get a better sense of what to expect as you transition into your legal career. You all received the agenda for the day. You will hear from faculty, students, and alumni. We have some video and media that we'll be mixing in for you to help to get to know us better, even from a distance. We hope that you can stay for the full program, but we certainly understand if you need to step away here and there. As I noted in your email confirmation, that we do encourage you to sort of take notes for yourself throughout the day. After today, you're going to receive contact information for all of the people that are presenting to you today. And we expect that you'll want to sort of speak with them more in the future. You will have an opportunity. We'll be hosting additional events and creating additional virtual content that will allow you to dive deeper into the topics that are meaningful to you and the conversations that we start today. So to give you just a little more overview of this meeting format and the Zoom functionality, I am going to introduce you first to our Associate Dean, Anthony Haynes. Dean Haynes is an assistant professor of law. He's many things to Albany Law. He's an assistant professor of law. He's our associate dean for strategic initiatives. He is also the director of our cybersecurity and data privacy program. But today, at the moment, he is our resident in-house expert on online learning. He's been a tremendous resource to all of us during this current transition to temporary, sort of virtual life online. So Dean Haynes, if you could help us out a little bit.
Thank you, Amy. Everyone, once again, welcome to our Albany Law School Acceptance Students Day. online. And before we get to the heart of the matter, I would like to give you a brief overview of some of the features of the Zoom environment we're using right now to host this online Accepted Students Day. I'm going to share my desktop very briefly, and if it's working, what you should be seeing right now is a PowerPoint presentation. And so hopefully someone can nod their head and say, yes, we're seeing the PowerPoint, excellent.
Yes.
So in this presentation, what you will notice is the view that you as a participant will see initially, and that's going to be the white screen. And if you hover your mouse when you're not in the current view where I'm sharing my screen, but the other view, you will see a black strip on the bottom of the screen. There's an unmute, mute button, a start, stop video, and some other icons to help you navigate and control your Zoom meeting environment. If you click on the Participants tab or the Manage Participants, you will then see a screen that allows you to have a pane on the right-hand side of all the participants. We'll see a little bit from now that there's a button to raise your hand and you can ask questions. Also, there's a chat feature. If you click on the chat button, this will expand it so that you'll be able to see the chat feature. Right now, someone raised their hand in admissions. I think it might have been Katrina or Allison, and you'll see a little blue hand in the pane here. So this is an example of what you may be seeing now, which is the speaker view, which has a big, gigantic screen for the person currently speaking. And if you notice, I've drawn an arrow to the Participants tab, which creates this pane over here. And I draw a second arrow to the raise hand icon. That's how you can raise your hand and create the blue symbol. Also note that if you're in this giant view here and you click on the gallery view, the little grid here, it will then switch to the gallery view. You may find it a little bit more welcoming to see more than just a handful of faces. And this view can show up to 25 faces in a 5x5 grid at one time. You can use this blue arrows to the side to shift between different panes as you want to see more people. There are additional features in Zoom, but for our purposes, knowing how to do the Participants tab, knowing how to do Zoom chat, and how to raise your hand will pretty much be the key essentials you need to have a good experience in our online Acceptance Students Day. Back to you, Amy. Oh, one more thing I should mention as well. It is being recorded. Amy, you're still on mute. You got to mute yourself. Someone asked in the chat session, are we recording this? It is being recorded. And so if you have a concern about sharing your video feed, you can definitely go ahead and conceal that feed. Similarly, you can just type your questions in chat or shoot us emails so we can respond via email as well.
All right. Am I off mute? I'm off mute. Thank you, Dean Haynes. So I think next what we're going to do is we're going to show a brief video that's kind of just going to, I hope, set the tone for the day and sort of give you a sense of the overview of who we are at Albany Law. This video highlights students who represent some of our 3 key strengths at Albany Law School. Those are independence, innovation, and impact. We are currently in the middle of a major fundraising campaign, and the great thing about this video is that it shows you where Albany Law School is now, but also where it's heading. So please show our video, Dean Haynes.
The key driver for me in deciding to go to law school was my curiosity to understand exactly what makes America work.
I came in here saying, I want to be a prosecutor.
Okay, let's try once again. This is the magic of using the Zoom environment, is sometimes the videos show and sometimes they don't. Let's try it one more time and hopefully it will have the screen share. We should be seeing the We Rise Together video. Let's try it one more time. Oh, let's try a different screen. Let's try.
Dean Haynes, actually the one you just had, that's what we're going for.
Okay.
The key driver for me in deciding to go to law school was my curiosity to understand exactly what makes America work.
I came in here saying, I want to be a prosecutor, and it's very exciting. So yeah, it's come full circle.
I've learned in life you have no idea where life is going to take you. And I'm happy with the decisions I've made. I'm happy with where I've ended up here at Albany Law.
Independence means to a student that they get the best, most current education that we can dream of. Taking advantage of the innovations in our curriculum allows a student to become a lawyer for the future, to become a professional who's able to address and solve problems. When we talk about impact in this campaign, we're talking about impact that has always been true, which is the way that Albany Law School impacts our community.
The military tradition in my family goes back towards my grandfather. He served during World War II, my father during Vietnam, and then myself during the Global War on Terror. I feel it's a uniquely American thing to do, is to serve, putting others before yourself. In the military, we're profession of arms. So I wanted to find another career, not just a job, another career that you were a profession. It was, something that you'd have to strive for, something you'd have to work hard for, something you'd want. And that's also how I saw a career as an attorney. Like I said, I've always found criminal law very interesting. I'm currently a military police officer, but I feel that I may be more defense-oriented. Also, I think I'm empathetic towards people, too. That's probably why I like the defense perspective. The scholarship and the additional financial benefits I've received from Albany Law, it has been a huge benefit for me and my family. I remember my first class, we did the reading, didn't really understand it, and then from day one, the professor was asking questions, and you have to answer them and figure it out and make it happen. So a lot of similarities between law school and the military, which is another reason why I enjoy it.
Well, we need money to support innovations because innovation is not easy. We take some of the challenges and barriers to innovation and we eliminate them because of our independence and because of our agility.
I grew up in Lagos, Nigeria. It just kind of made sense to me then that, I should probably join the science track. It was a cool thing to do. And that was what I eventually ended up doing. I studied pharmacy. It was good to know that I was actually helping people to save lives. When I joined extracurricular activities and keep records, community development, that was when I decided to think of law. I've always thought about, kind of attacking the healthcare side of things if I ever go into litigation, or, focusing on corporations that work in the healthcare area. I'm happy to be able to actually, combine everything and use it all. The greatest thing about Albany Law is the professors. I feel very grateful to a lot of people that have helped me grow from the very first day.
Albany Law has an impact on every student. It changes lives.
So growing up as a little girl in Brooklyn in a traditional Hispanic household family was everything. And I was always with my family. My uncles specifically were involved in law enforcement with the NYPD. Having my uncles that I could look up to and, pepper with questions and have them indulge me and explain how, their job works and how prosecutors work was very important. Kind of set me on this path to Albany Law School. But the Albany Law Clinic and Justice Center has a few clinics, so the Community Development Clinic, the Immigration Law Clinic, the Domestic Violence Prosecution Hybrid, the Family Litigation Clinic. And just to do that as a law student, it's incredible. I've been next to a professor grading papers who, when she sees that her student has gotten it, she goes, yes, and startles everyone in the room. But she's that invested in her students learning and knowing what's going on. After graduation, I'll be a prosecutor at the District Attorney's Office of Kings County. I am incredibly excited and honored, and I'll be home. I'll be a prosecutor at home. The importance of the donors giving back, it enhances our experience as students. And, I've seen and felt the impact that has. So, I hope to be one of those alumni that gives back in whatever way I can. It's so important. I think I'm incredibly lucky to be able to, as an adult, do the one thing I always said I wanted to do as a child. I'm so grateful that, I was able to come here to Albany Law School and make that dream real.
The folks who invest in Albany Law School are investing in all of our students, and they're investing in our future. And we couldn't do this without them.
Great, thank you. I hope that you guys enjoyed that video too. I've seen it several times, and every time I do, it always sort of gives me the feels. I think it really does set the tone well for sort of what we're here at Albany Law. So that's all for sort of my introduction for the moment. But I think I'm going to turn it over now for some opening remarks from arguably the best person to sort of give you an overview of Albany Law, or a welcome from Albany, is an alumna, and she is our Dean and President, Alicia Willett.
Thank you, Amy,
Mhm.
and welcome. Welcome to our accepted students. Welcome to any support people, parents or spouses or partners or children or pets who are in the room with you right now. Congratulations to all of you. It takes so much work to get here, to be accepted to law school. We know what you've gone through, and we're just thrilled to welcome you to the Albany Law family. I do want to start today by acknowledging this moment in time. Here we are in a remote accepted students day. It's not how we want to do this. This is a time of anxiety and uncertainty. Some of us and some of our loved ones are facing challenges and isolation. Some of you have lost the senior year that you planned for. Others are suddenly homeschooling their children. All of our lives have been turned upside down, right? And now you're being asked to make a hugely important decision about law school without getting to visit in person, at least not yet, and we're sorry about that. We will do everything we can to give you the chance to get to know us and to help you out along the way. Please let us know how we can help you in your decision-making process. If you don't learn something today that you want to know about, just ask. We'll figure it out. We'll put together a chat room. We'll get you in touch with a faculty member. Want to attend a class? We can do that. It won't be the same as being in a residential class, but we can put you in a live class where you can see how interactive our faculty are with our students. Or we have some taped versions of residential classes, and we may be able to give you access to those. Want to meet with a student group? We'll make sure that that happens. We're here to support you. Supporting our people and our community is so much of what the Albany Law School experience is about. Community is everything at Albany Law. Our support for one another runs through everything that we do. And you're going to hear a lot about community today. You're going to talk with students, you're going to talk with alumni, you're going to talk with our wonderful faculty, and you'll hear about our community. It's a theme. But I want to talk a little bit more about two other defining features of Albany Law School: opportunities and impact. There are definitely opportunities created through community. I'll just talk about our alumni community for a moment. Our alumni are so involved with the law school. They are on campus all the time, if they can be, and inviting students to their offices in other cities. We have alumni in every state except South Dakota. So if we've got a student from South Dakota, please raise your hand. We're going to work really hard to get you here to join. We need number 50 on our puzzle. We have our alumni are connected to our students and provide opportunities for mentorship. We have a great mentorship program. They hire our students. They come and they do mock interviews and provide professional development. They talk about their practice areas and their career paths so you can learn from them. They're always here for us. I'll tell you just a quick story. Recently I was at an event with a bunch of students, and a student just mentioned to me that he was interested in a job in Dallas. And I sent one email out to an alum in Dallas, and it activated the alumni network, and they're all over getting this student a job. And that's Albany Law in a nutshell. That's what happens here. That's the opportunity. There are opportunities to work closely and learn from the world's best faculty. These are experts, top experts in their fields. In some cases, you'll be learning from the author of the casebook that you're reading. And they get to know you. Our faculty, you can't really hide because they care. They know your names. They know if you're doing well, and they'll help challenge you. They'll create opportunities. They know if you need a little help, and they make the time. Can't tell you how many times I've been here in the school on a weekend or in the evening, and I've seen a faculty member working one-on-one with a student and setting up the support, or a faculty member who says, I've got a student who is interested in such and such a clerkship or such and such a job, and just makes those opportunities happen by getting on the phone and working for you. You'll have the opportunities to work with the most incredible members of our staff, and that's throughout the building, whether you're dealing with an issue with the Career and Professional Development Center, or I mean, you've met our admissions staff, so you know how great that team is. Lori and Katrina and Persia and Amy and Allison, just, you know, they represent the rest of the team. It is a community that really cares and really will literally actually like give you the jacket off their back if you get a sudden need to put on some professional clothes and you don't have a. I know that's happened. I'm looking at Persia. I think she has taken care of that. Opportunities with students. Our students support one another. They are there for one another. They create opportunities. They create. I feel like we have more clubs than I don't know how our students can do it. There's, you know, soccer clubs and clubs that are substantive, like the Criminal Law Society. You'll hear about all of those, and just the support that the students provide one another is really very inspiring. There are incredible opportunities in the classroom to take innovative new classes. We have a class on drone law. I imagine we'll probably have a coronavirus class before we know it. We're nimble, we're smart, and there's a lot of law coming out of that, and there's going to be a lot of need for lawyers as a result of the current situation. And you get to know our faculty. In some classes, you'll have very small classes. You may have classes where it's only a handful of people and the professor working really hard together. The first year classes, they're big for us at 60 or so, but small compared to a lot of law schools, and we find ways to make sure that you have enough contact with your faculty. And then the opportunities outside the classroom. And it's hard to even get started on these because there's just so many. What we call internships, we call field placements. So we're the only law school in the center of the state capital, where more law is made than probably any other place other than Washington, D.C. So much is going on, and we're the only law school. And so what that means is that we have more field placements, internships for credit, than we have students to fill them. So I'm in this sort of enviable position as a dean, where I get calls every semester, or I run into an alum somewhere who says, you know, why didn't I get an Albany Law student this year? And I say, well, we just didn't have that many of them. If you want to be in a U.S. Attorney's office, if you want to be working in a prosecutor's office or in a defense arena, if whatever it is that you want to try, we'll let you try it during law school so that you don't have to wait until you graduate to find out if it's for you. We have opportunities like no one else does to place students out in the community. I'm going to talk about one of them, what we call the Innovation Intensive. So this is a program that we created together with partners, the SUNY Research Foundation, SUNY Poly, and UAlbany, where we actually place students who are interested in either business or intellectual property, patents, or the sciencey side of things, and we place you right in the research hub that is that's contained in SUNY Poly. For those of you from the region, you may know it as sort of the Nano Center. It's where the Nano College is located, and lots of businesses are located. There's scientists, there's business people, there are intellectual property lawyers, and there are law students that are working together in the tech transfer office to do all aspects of business planning, launching businesses, getting patents, filing patent applications. You're not going to get that experience anywhere else, and there are so many jobs in that area. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, we'd love to set you up with those faculty to get a chance to talk about it. And there are many more of those. We've got apprenticeship clinics in the New York State Attorney General's office. We've got a mediation apprenticeship clinic. We also have opportunities for you to make an impact through our Justice Center. And I want to talk about our Justice Center because it really is a jewel of the law school. Our Justice Center is a law firm. It's a practicing law firm run by faculty and staff attorneys, so professional lawyers and a whole bunch of great paralegals and other folks who support the work of the Justice Center, but most of the work is done by students. Students actually represent real clients with real needs in the clinics out of the Justice Center. And boy, can you make an impact on people's lives doing this. Your clients will be immigrants in our immigration law clinic. They might be children or individuals facing family violence in the family violence litigation clinic. If you're interested in transactional practice, you might select the Community Economic Development Clinic, which works with small businesses and not-for-profits and does whatever the work that they need to thrive and maybe launch the business or deal with business-related issues. We have a domestic violence hybrid clinic where our students are placed in the special prosecutor's office, the special victims units of prosecutors' offices, and actually work on and participate in the prosecution of offenders. We also have the opportunity to have an impact through our pro bono projects. Our pro bono projects are student-run initiatives, and they run the gamut from elder law to criminal law to art law to animal law and more. And if there's an area of interest that we don't have, you just create a pro bono project, and we'll work with you on that. And so the pro bono projects are a place where our students are able to go and make a difference in our community, and they spend thousands and thousands of hours committing to the work of our community and making an impact on our students or in the lives of our community. And Albany Law School is going to have an impact on you and in your lives. You will make friends and mentors for life. People make their best friends in law school. A lot of people meet their spouses in law school. And you will see that the relationships that you build here will impact your careers throughout your careers. There's nothing like the Albany Law Network when you're going to make a career change or you need support. Albany Law School will also have an impact on you. Albany Law grows leaders. We have graduated 2 Supreme Court justices, President of the United States. We also graduated Governor Andrew Cuomo, who's showing quite a bit of leadership right now. We graduated mayors. The mayor of Albany is an Albany Law grad, the mayor of Troy, the mayor of Rochester. We have hundreds and hundreds of practicing judges and thousands of people who've gone on to be judges out of Albany Law School. We have law firm partners and leaders in business and finance and in health, so much more. And those leaders reach back and they hire our students, they mentor our students, and they support our students, and they make an impact in the community and in the world. So the ripples go on. So I will stop talking now. I hope that you enjoy your day. I hope that you get the information that you need to make your decision. And please know that we'll be here. I will be available for chat sessions in the coming weeks if you're interested in that. I'm planning to hold a special one for your parents or your partners or spouses or your support people who may have questions about what is life in law school like. So we'll give you the date of that. And let us know if there's anything else that we can do to help make it easier for you to make your decision. I hope you enjoy our community. It's really special, and we can't wait for you to be physically a part of it. We can't welcome you to our beautiful campus, and I can't wait to meet you in person. So thank you for your time, and have a great day.
Thanks, Dean Willett. We appreciate it. So next for you, we have queued up another video for you to watch. This is one that was taken to sort of give you a bird's eye view of campus, but it's also going to let you explore the areas surrounding Albany Law School, some of them literally immediately surrounding. From Lark Street and Washington Park to the Capitol Building and the Empire State Plaza. Many of these places are within walking distance of the law school. You'll learn about the opportunities in the Capitol, and then you'll see that there really is something for everybody in this area.
Welcome to Albany Law School, the only law school in New York's capital, a city steeped in history and culture. At the heart of the student experience is our 54-acre shared Midtown campus. Walkways and green spaces connect Albany Law School with the Sage Colleges, Albany Medical College, and Albany College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences. Together, the schools attract students from across the country and around the world whose diverse interests and backgrounds enrich the intellectual and social environment for all. Every day, students use the fitness center, the athletic.
Okay, Amy, was everybody able to see that video or not? I see some no on that. Okay,
Sorry,
let's try
Dean,
this.
it was the same thing that happened last time. It wasn't playing on the first go.
Interesting. Okay, we'll try a second time. We'll see if it works this time around. Let's see.
Welcome to Albany Law School, the only law school in New York's capital, a city steeped in history and culture. At the heart of the student experience is our 54-acre shared Midtown campus. Walkways and green spaces connect Albany Law School with the Sage Colleges, Albany Medical College, and Albany College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences. Together, the schools attract students from across the country and around the world whose diverse interests and backgrounds enrich the intellectual and social environment for all. Every day, students use the fitness center, the athletic fields, and the gym. Our majestic 1928 building has been upgraded with the latest technology and is home to one of the country's great law libraries. As the seat of government, Albany is a nexus of power and influence. New York's Governor Andrew Cuomo, an Albany Law School alumnus, is located here, as are dozens of state agencies and its legislature. Within walking distance is New York's highest court, as well as the state's appellate division, the Supreme Court, and Federal District Court. The Empire State Plaza's distinct architecture carves Albany's skyline. Here you'll find the Capitol Building, the Egg Performing Arts Center, the New York State Museum, the Justice Building, and more. An underground concourse connects all these buildings and features food courts and retail shops. The Capital Region also has a thriving private sector driven by the health and finance fields, tech firms, startups, advocacy groups, and dozens of law firms with alumni eager to hire our graduates. Albany caters to the lifestyle of its students. After all, there are more than 15 colleges in the Capital Region. Whether you like city, suburban, or rural living, Albany accommodates all lifestyles: theater, sports, museums, outdoor activities. The region offers something for everyone. Albany, the capital of New York State, is the hub of the Capital Region, which includes nearby cities of Troy, Schenectady, and Saratoga Springs, creating one of the largest urban areas in New York. Students often walk to the eclectic Lark Street area after class, marked by historic brownstones and cobblestone streets. Here you find cafes, nightclubs, diverse restaurants, art galleries, and one-of-a-kind shops. Lark Street is the backdrop for many music-driven events throughout the year, including Art on Lark and Lark Fest. Or take a study break at Washington Park. Located across from the Albany Medical Center, Albany Law School is surrounded by eateries, pubs, hotels, and affordable places to live. It offers respite from the bustle of a major metropolis, providing the environment to study the law while presenting opportunities to experience a New York minute. Come see what we have to offer. Contact an admissions representative today.
Thanks, Dean Haynes. I hope everybody had enjoyed that video. I always enjoy that one because it gives just such a great overview on what a great location that we have. Many of you might already know that we're the only law school in the Capital District. The nearest law school is 90 miles away, and it's not even in this state. So it's definitely sort of a monopoly, a big part of the advantage of being at Albany Law, and one of the things that helps define us. So the next thing that helps define us, I think you're going to find some of the people that you really want to hear from most today are our esteemed faculty. So we have a lovely panel of them here ready to chat with you for a while. So Professor Ayers, are you around? Ava?
I am. Here I am. Can you hear me?
Yay. Okay. So
Great.
Here we go. You're up first.
Okay. So thanks so much, everybody, for being here. I wish I could meet you in person, but I'm glad that I can meet you virtually. And I guess the panel today is to talk about what it's like in law school, what it's like particularly at Albany Law. And I want to be as useful to you as I can. Usually I can see the faces of the people I'm speaking to, and I can see them nodding or sometimes looking dazed. So use the chat function if you think that I'm telling you things you don't care about, or if there's specific things that you'd love to know. And Amy, how long should I plan to speak for? Because I can stop myself after 30 seconds or talk for an hour.
Right. So I would say maybe just take a few minutes to kind of introduce yourself, what you teach, what you're sort of, maybe a little bit about the GLC.
Yeah,
and
great.
Each of your other panelists an opportunity, and then we'll open up to questions.
Perfect. Okay, so briefly, I'm a member of the faculty here. I teach classes that focus on government, specifically administrative law, and a new class that we developed called Law of Government. I also direct what's called the Government Law Center, which is, as far as I know, unique among American law schools in that we have 4 lawyers and 4 non-lawyer staff who are all working to do research and produce publications and trainings and education that help policymakers serve their communities better. So we're sort of like a think tank, but more outward facing than an ordinary think tank. We're also a really important part of how the government laws community at Albany Law School stays connected to all of the policymakers who work in the Capitol, the state agencies, and local governments throughout New York State, which is another really important area that people don't necessarily realize is fascinating until you start to learn more about what local government does, helping with vacant and abandoned properties in your area. Now we're all noticing how involved our local governments are in responding to the COVID-19 crisis and so on. So we don't just do research, we also do events to bring people into the law school to talk to students who are interested in government so that they can personally get to know people who are doing work in the field. So we have a specific group of mentees called the Government Law Center Fellows, and I can tell you more about that. But we try to be here for everybody at the law school. So if you're interested in government and public service, you can come talk to me and I'll help you navigate your path. And I love this part of my job. So this month, for example, we have a speaker coming in who works for the State Ethics Commission called JCOPE, the Joint Commission on Public Ethics, to talk to students about what they do. We have the director of the entity that provides mental health representation to people who can't represent themselves in New York courts. She's going to come talk about what that's like. And we have the person who's in charge of watching over New York State's public authorities. If you don't know what those are, they're fascinating. You may have learned in high school that there's 3 branches of government. There's actually 5. There's the legislature, the executive, that's the president or the governor. There's the judiciary, the courts. And then there's the agencies, which are sometimes sort of in between. And then there's the public authorities, which hardly anybody understands. I'm going to stop myself from getting into them. They're very exciting and I could talk about them forever. They're where most of your money goes. Anyway, so we bring people in to talk to students so they can learn more about what that's like. And then if you're interested in becoming a Government Law Center Fellow, you can apply during your the course of applying to the law school. So you start right when you get here. And we'll organize these mentoring sessions for you. We'll also do certain activities and projects to help you prepare for public service and to figure out whether it's interesting to you. And then we'll put you through an academic curriculum that will prepare you for public service, as well as have you come intern with us so you work as one of those researchers that I mentioned. We typically have 4 to 6 students each semester working with us. So that's the Government Law Center. I also just want to say briefly, my colleagues can talk about teaching, but just about my own experience. I came to law school very nervous. I think that was smart because I knew it was going to be a new kind of learning. But when I arrived, I was a bit surprised at how different it was from the experience in the movies. There were very few professors who would randomly call on me and then rip me to pieces in the brutal way that they seemed to do in those movies. And that was 15 years ago. Brutally ripping people to pieces is now pretty much unheard of. In my day, it was merely rare. But I think the thing that's really impressed me about Albany Law School compared to, I went to Georgetown, which is a very big law school. What surprised me about Albany Law is the sense of community and the sense of everybody knowing each other that we have here. I think it's a really caring place, and that extends to classes. And I think we're really seeing that now with the COVID-19 crisis. I talked to 2 students today, one-on-one by video, and I have one more this afternoon, not because they need it or they're in trouble, but because I want to be here for people outside the classroom to make sure that they have somebody they can talk to about the difficult material we cover in class. One of the things I've learned is that everybody learns differently. So teaching a big class is important. And by big, I mean 25, by the way, that's big to me. But of those 25 students, they have different needs, different abilities. And so I try to spend a lot of time outside of class working with them, sometimes just on, let's talk about how you take notes. And nobody ever did that for me in law school. I had to figure out my own system, which I did, and eventually wrote a book about it because I was so pleased with myself for having figured out a system that let me do well. You shouldn't be on your own to do that. And I really take pride in the fact that at this law school, we don't leave people to be on their own to do that. So I'll stop there, but thanks everybody. It's great to be here.
Thanks, Professor Ayers. Before we get to Professor Brieger next, I just want to give a quick little reminder to everybody that might not be familiar. You can try toggling between your speaker view and your gallery view up in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. And as we do this more presentation style, you might find that you find a view that's more comfortable for you. And then please don't forget that you have the chat feature where you can type comments and questions so that we can help weave those into our conversation. And you can also use the participants bar to raise your hand, indicating that you have a question or comment, and we'll try to call on you as best we can. We have moderators behind the scenes. We're going to do our best to get everybody weaved in. So thanks for that. Professor Brieger, you're up next.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here. I know these are strange times for all of us, and I'm just so happy that technology allows us the ability to still have a conversation. My children are happy that I'm joining the 21st century and actually understand Zoom now. I'm an absolute expert this week on Zoom, first time using. So thank you very much. And I know we have a ton of time for questions and answers, so I'm just going to briefly tell you a little bit about what I teach, what I used to teach, and then just follow up a little bit on what Professor Ayers mentioned. So I have been teaching at Albany Law School since 2002. So by my math calculations, it's 18 years. It doesn't feel like it at all, but it's been 18 years since I've been here. Before that, I taught at my alma mater, so I've really actually been teaching for 21 years. Again, doesn't feel like that at all. And when I started at Albany Law School, I headed up the Family Violence Litigation Clinic, which you just heard the dean talk about, and it's still running strong, and it's a fantastic opportunity and experience, and I can talk more about it during the question and answers. That was for 8 years, tremendous time. And then for the past 10 years, I've been teaching other courses. So in the fall, I teach a mandatory course that every second year has to take in a third semester. So basically it's your first semester of second year, but it's your third semester of law school, and that's evidence. So it's a mandatory 4-hour course, evidence, every second year is taking it at the same time. It's a really interesting course. Don't let people tell you it's not. I try very hard to make it interesting, and I think it can be. And so that is the 4-hour, 4-credit course rather. Also in the fall semester, I teach criminal procedure investigation. So we do have 2 criminal procedure classes. One's adjudication and one's investigation. I teach investigation, which is often called around here 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendment. So it's really more the constitutional criminal procedure. It's about what happens when somebody is a suspect in a crime or when someone gets arrested. And so I talk all about sort of those things that happen between sort of investigating a crime up to the point in which someone is arraigned. The other course I mentioned, adjudication, is often called bail to jail. So bail to jail is the other course. I teach the beginnings parts of it. And that's a fascinating course as well. In the spring semester, I teach family law. That's my background, so that's kind of my sweet spot. And then I teach one of 2 or 3 electives as well. Family law is a 3-credit course. I also teach either gender in the law, a 2-credit course, juvenile law, which I'm teaching this semester, or sometimes the domestic violence seminar. And then I also teach in the summer an online course, juvenile law as well. So all of those courses are very interesting. I know Professor Ayers was talking about sizes of classes. I go from 6 students to 75 students. So in some of my classes, I have 75 students, and I do get to know your name within about 2 weeks. So I do try 1 week if I'm really good. And then I have classes as small as 6, where there are papers and you do a presentation, and so it's a lot different. But what I really try to do, and I think it's true for all of my colleagues, is we try to make even a giant classroom a close experience. We try to find ways to make the classroom not be overwhelming and be like a small classroom. So sometimes there's small group work, sometimes there's other things, but I have, I think that I'm able to kind of let students know that we all know who they are. It's at Albany Law School, there's a really strong connection between faculty and staff and students. We all know each other, we work together. I think that's a really big draw, is that we have that relationship with our students. When I went to law school, which was before Professor Ayers, I don't even think any professors really knew me outside of the classroom. Maybe 1 or 2 I did research for. Whereas here, I know every student. I might know some students more than others, but I know every student. And especially now that we're in this crisis, I am really trying to reach out, and they're reaching out to me and to my colleagues, and we're all trying to come at this together. And you really, really feel that. You really feel that close, nurturing environment at the law school. It's still law school. There's still law and competition and so on, but it's a very nurturing environment to be in. So maybe I'll stop there. I was going to kind of reminisce about my law school experience, but it was so long ago, it's probably not worth it. So I'll turn it over.
Thanks, Professor Brieger. How about, do we have Professor Heverly?
I am here.
Welcome.
Thanks. So welcome, everybody. I'm glad. I'm going to actually switch it around a little and say I'm glad you're there. I'm glad that we can all be together with you there and us here. I teach a variety of courses, just to jump in. I teach the first year course in torts, which is one of the courses that until you start looking at law school, you may have never heard of before. It's the law of civil wrongs. I teach advanced torts as well. And then I teach courses that generally revolve around law, society, technology, those kind of courses. So cyberspace law, which is often taught online, art and entertainment law. I teach in the intellectual property arena, primarily copyright law. And I've taught in the past, and it looks like I'm going to be able to teach again, a course on drone law, in which the textbook is to go and buy a drone. And that part of the course is actually learning to fly it and looking at the requirements for licensing of drone pilots, taking practice tests. And from the last crew, we've got some people who are going to be commercially licensed to fly their drones. So I guess I'll take a little different tack, because I think Professors Brieger and Ayers have well covered sort of the atmosphere within the school, and talk about what to expect in the first year and in your first year courses. And the best I can say is it will be very different as you move from classroom to classroom. So in my class, I have a stack of index cards, and they have everybody's picture on them. And I shuffle them, and I start calling on students to talk about the materials that were assigned for the day. I generally don't stay with any particular student for more than a few minutes, and then I move on to another student. I don't wait until they get something wrong or until they mess up. I just try to get lots of people involved in the conversation. There's very little lecture. I think there are maybe 3 sets of PowerPoint slides from throughout the semester, and there are things like the history of the development of the civil liability system and negligence, and things that really aren't as great for discussion because it's historically based. Other than that, we spend a lot of time talking. I take notes during the class. Instead of using the whiteboard in the front of the room, I have a pad that I use, an electronic pad, and I write things on the pad, and then when class is done, that goes up on the course page so that you can see the notes that were there and refer back to them if you want to. We do a variety of things throughout the year. As everybody's sort of talking about their past law school experience, I'm a 92 grad of Albany Law School. I spent 9 years at the Government Law Center, leaving. When I left, I was the assistant director of the center. I went and I did some more school. I went and taught in England for 5.5 years. I taught at Michigan State for 1.5 years, and I came back. Since I was here at Albany Law School, a lot of things have changed. My contracts course was 3 credits in the fall, 3 credits in the spring, 1 exam, all the way at the end. So you went the entire year from start to finish, sitting in the room, listening to the professor, answering questions with no midterm paper, anything. In my torts class, which is a 4-credit fall class, you write a response to a problem every single week. They're ungraded, you have to do it, but I don't put a grade on them. And then I grade some of them and put those grades up and the markups up, and you compare yours to theirs. There's a midterm examination and there's a final exam. In addition, usually sometime after the midterm, a number of students will start coming to see me in my office because they'll realize that they need some additional help. Something's not working. They're not getting the writing assignments. They're getting comments that indicate that they're not on the right track. And so coming to see me in the office, again, that's not something I did when I was in law school too much, but it's something that regularly happens at the modern Albany Law School. And so students will come in. I have them come in sometimes once a week, and they'll bring the writing assignment they did. They'll see their teaching assistant first, then they'll bring it to me, and we'll talk through all of the details. And one year I had a student who had the lowest score on the midterm exam, who then started coming to me after the midterm every single week, got an A in the course, and was my teaching assistant for the next 2 years. So you're really in control of your trajectory when you're at Albany Law School, because the effort you're willing to put into it, there are people who will respond to that and assist you with it. So I guess those are the things I'll say. Does everybody call on everybody from a stack of cards? Nope, not everybody does. Do all first-year teachers regularly call on students? Nope. Some of us do, some of us don't. You'll have different experiences in different classes. All of them, though, will be supportive in terms of what you're trying to accomplish academically. And I don't know any of my colleagues who have a closed door. If you're willing to come in and make the effort, they're willing to make the effort back.
Thanks, Professor Heverly. I see Professor Rahan. You're up next. Hi.
Hi, Amy. Hi. Can you hear me? Wonderful. Well, let me start by welcoming all of the admitted students. And you've heard congratulations from so many people, but I actually want to say something beyond congratulations, which is to say thank you. Thank you for deciding to start the process of becoming a lawyer. There is something so noble about this profession, and I know it's part of the current discussion to demean lawyers. But without lawyers, oh my God, our civil society wouldn't be anything close to what it is. It's a hard profession. It's a hard education. And so the commitment you're making to it, and by the way, it's a hard education because it's a hard profession in the sense that you will be responsible for the lives and fortunes of your clients. What an honor for you, and what an honor for us if you choose us as the place you come to pursue your education. One of the things I think makes this school rather unique is we treat you from the day you come here as if you are already a member of the profession. You will actually have something like an investiture ceremony at the end of your orientation, where you will make a series of promises to yourself and to your classmates. And you will, in doing that, we hope, start to think of yourself as the professional you're in the process of becoming. Let me tell you just a little bit about myself when I was in the process of doing what you're doing. There will be some of you who have wanted to be lawyers all your lives or all your sort of semi-adult lives. There'll be others of you who've only just recently thought of it. Some of you will know exactly what kind of lawyers you want to be. Others of you will have no clue. I was in the group that came to the decision late and that had no clue. I didn't know, as Professor Heverly says, I didn't know what a tort was. I don't think I knew much of anything about what law was and what lawyers did. Frankly, I went to law school because perhaps I just wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. But it was the best choice of my life. And one of the things I found out once I started, I went to law school on the West Coast, not that that matters, but I just want you to know we sort of come from everywhere. But one of the things that I learned very early on was, to the extent I had an understanding of what lawyers did, it was very narrow. So from that, I started with a narrow concept of that. And then I have to share with you what I know now, because it's so important to the course that you're taking. You've heard the dean and my colleagues talk about some of our alums and some of the different things that our students do. I've been here since 1980. So I've had 2 generations of students come through. And students I have taught and my colleagues have taught are doing the most amazing things in this state, in this country, and in this world. We have everything from the lawyer who is the chief lawyer for the New York Times, David McCraw, was a fairly recent graduate of this school. During the Obama administration, we had 2 members of President Obama's cabinet who were graduates of this school. We've had graduates of this school that were governors, not just of the state of New York, but for example, of the state of Iowa. We have graduates who are doing the most amazing thing in business, literally changing the nature of corporate law in one case. We have graduates doing phenomenal international work, phenomenal immigration work, phenomenal civil rights work. And I mention this to you because in most cases, they didn't come into law school thinking, gee, one day I'll be the chief lawyer for the New York Times. Or in the case of one of my former students, the chief lawyer for New York Bank Mellon, or the chief lawyer for advocacy groups for domestic violence victims. They didn't know that coming in. They found their way as they went through this institution. I have to tell you very briefly about one former student who founded a company called, I think it was Little Miss Mismatched, that sold mismatched socks to primarily to little girls, but to little boys as well. And he just loves it, and he's really good at it, and frankly, he's made a bit of money at it. And it's so funny because as a student, he was one of the most well-dressed, non-mismatched persons that I can remember. So if you're coming to law school not knowing what you want to do with your profession, you're not alone, and you'll have so many chances to dip your toes into what the possibilities are and to see your colleagues, your fellow students, dipping their toes into what the possibilities are. The possibilities are endless for you if you're willing to work hard enough for them and to open your mind and heart to the different things that a career can mean for you. I taught Professor Heverly. He was nice enough not to say that, but I will say that. I'm probably on the more old school style of things. We no longer, as Professor Heverly indicated, give those full year 6 credit exams, although I did in my early days do that. I used to require students to stand when called on. I don't anymore, but I do cold call, as Professor Heverly does. And I like to set a pretty high standard. I don't tear anybody up. I don't chew anybody up. I don't believe in that. What I love is if I did that, I have no doubt that the other 59 students in the class would be right there. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you a quick story that I love. And that is that when I'm calling on someone who's been cold called and they're not ideally prepared, I love to see the people around them. They don't know if they can see it, but they're passing little notes and they're whispering things and they're helping out. And I love that about our school. There are students who are competitive, sure, but most are not. And I've had students, when a student is particularly struggling, raise her hand and say, may I serve as co-counsel? May I help out? And it's just lovely. And then a couple of sessions later, I'll have the student being helped and helping. So I try to set a very high standard for my students because the profession is going to set a very high standard for them. But I very much love the fact that we all feel like we're in it together. We have a fun time, and that's hard to believe when I teach first year property law and I teach first year contracts. I also teach upper class business courses, business organizations, the study of corporations, partnerships, limited liability companies, and that sort of thing. I teach a course called Commercial Law Survey, which sort of looks at how the business world works and the financing of the business world. And just to give you, to sort of tie things up, I mentioned that when I started thinking about law school, I didn't know what I was doing. When I started teaching, then my first courses that I taught were United Nations law and international protection of human rights. And over the course of time, while I love those subjects and still love them, I came to find that I loved every subject just as much. So I'm probably as far from United Nations law now as I could be. But it's part of showing you and not just telling you that you're joining a very fluid profession that gives you lots of chances to make great changes in the world and to have a very nice life in every respect that we can talk about that as well. Thanks for listening to me. I really look forward to seeing you in person when you come. And to you.
Thanks, Professor Rehan. And the last panelist we're going to introduce you to before we get to a more interactive conversation is Professor Sundquist.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me okay?
We got you.
All right, great, excellent. So as the last one to go, I'll try to be brief. I know you're hoping that I'll be pretty brief. I'm a professor here, of course. I'm also the Director of Faculty Research and Scholarship. And I teach a variety of courses. You probably won't see me in the classroom until spring of 2021 because I do teach criminal law for first years. I teach criminal procedure. I teach evidence. And either immigration law, privacy law, or perhaps a seminar on law and inequality, depending on the particular year. So my practice focused on litigation and IP, intellectual property work, as well as immigration law. My research tends to focus on technology and law with a particular focus on DNA evidence and social inequality. I used to be an elementary and high school teacher or counselor, had a caseload of almost 700 students at the time. And I went to law school because I was frustrated with the bureaucracy and I wanted to make a meaningful change in people's lives. And I believe you have that same opportunity. And I think it's important to recognize, and we have done this a bit already, that we are currently in an unprecedented moment in time as the coronavirus challenges our social institutions, our politics, our conceptions of what it means to be a member of the democratic community. And so I'm not really a singer, but you know, what the world needs now is not only love, right? But also perhaps is smart and ambitious lawyers that are able to navigate the technological complexities of our world while representing clients in what is and what will be a quickly shifting landscape of health law, criminal law, employment law, and so many other critically important areas. And so we're really excited that you may become part of our Albany family. And that's all I'm going to say because I know we're running late and I want to save time for you to ask me and the other panelists and anyone else questions about the law school experience or anything else that comes to mind.
Thanks, Professor Sundquist. So I don't see any hands raised at the moment or any chats going on, but now is a great time for you all to sort of chime in if you have questions about sort of what expectations or what it's like to be in the classroom, about you know, sort of how you might sort of envision yourself being, if you have any concerns. While we're waiting for our student participants to sort of be a little less shy, I will ask some of our faculty panelists, can someone mention a little bit more about how does the sort of faculty advising and counseling, how does that relationship go?
Sure, I'll take it. Sure. So we recently changed the way that we have students matched with faculty advisors. Every student has a faculty advisor for the entire time that you're here. And this new process, I think, is really a win-win. It's a terrific process because you as the student get to choose one of us. And you can change that every year. So perhaps first year you want one professor, and second year you want another professor, and third year a third, fourth, however many years you're here. Or you can have the same. So I have so many students who actually are graduating in May 2020 that I've had since first year, since their first day of school. And it's been really remarkable to watch them just grow and develop into almost lawyers. What that allows, though, is that we not only help you with course advising, which certainly, everyone's going to need a little bit of guidance. Which course should I take next? Sequencing, which courses should I take in what order? But we also advise you with just about all the kind of requirements that you need to go through, what tests you need to take to become admitted to, to the bar. We assist, I certainly assist all of my advisees with summer job searches to supplement our amazing career placement office, with looking over a resume or a cover letter, with helping narrow down where to apply, helping with clinic choices or field placement choices, where might be the best offices to try to apply. And then just the everyday need for advising just in personal parts of your life, we're there for that as well. So I feel that that faculty advisor relationship is really, really strong. And because we now have it so that it's not just randomly assigned how it used to be, but you can choose the person, you might choose someone whose research interest matches yours. So oftentimes I have students asked to be my advisee who are interested in the research that I'm working on and might want to be my research assistant at one point or another. So I think we have a pretty robust system.
Okay, we do have some questions from the chat if we'd like to address some of them. First one in is from, and apologies if I'm really getting your name wrong here, but it looks like Kinza Owais. And it says, hi, my name is Kinza and I go to John Jay College. Thank you for the information provided so far. How do you think Albany Law will move forward for the fall of 2020 in light of our current situation with COVID-19?
Maybe one of our deans wants to address that.
Sure, this is Alicia Willette here. Let me jump on. Hi, everybody. Our plan is to return to residential classes as soon as possible, but as we're learning with everything every day, plans change, and we will be there for you, and if we need to make adjustments, we will. I think we all very, very much want to be back on campus and be in together and having the kind of interactions you've been hearing about. So our plan is to move forward. If something changes, our faculty now they have been incredible in terms of putting their classes online. We have a couple of JD classes that are taught online, so that if you're doing a semester in practice or something, you want to do a semester anywhere, a semester away, you're able to do that. But most of our classes are residential, and that's our preference. But now every single faculty member is teaching online, and we added a lot of resources so that we would continue to have the continuity and the interaction that marks our education. So I was reading in the chat earlier that some of you are having mostly, your remote classes have started, but you're having sort of voice over PowerPoint. There's some of that, but all of our faculty are doing some kind of interactive thing. So should we need to continue that, we would continue that. If you're looking for a residential experience and you don't want to start in the fall, but you've accepted, you've deposited, you're planning to come, call us and we'll work with you. If we need to have a January start for some of you, we'll do that. Some of you may start, we are very flexible and accommodating, and we'll make it work. I hope that helps.
And then we do have a couple other questions. I'll just try and touch on some that are specifically for the faculty at this point. Now I'm going to skip down to James Ashley, who asks, for some of the faculty who teach first-year classes, what are some of the things you wish students knew coming into that class, and what might be a good way to spend the summer in preparation for fall classes?
Well, I'll weigh in first, and then I'm sure my colleagues will weigh in as well. I think being as broadly aware of current events, of human circumstances, of economic circumstances is the best way to, in the time you have left, to sort of get yourself geared up for all of the different contexts. Professor Sundquist talked about this, the different issues that now will overlay, that have always overlaid, and now slightly differently will overlay the subjects that you take in law school. So I would encourage you to read a national newspaper, either online or in print, as often as you can. Quite frankly, I would encourage you, even though you won't understand a whole lot of it, to, from time to time, read the front page of the Wall Street Journal, just because the Wall Street Journal speaks in a business language that most of us are not used to listening to. So I don't have any particular insight as to a specific thing to read, but I think the more you can have yourself up to speed with what is going on in the world as you move through the next few months, the more you'll be ready to jump in, because all of us, as the dean indicated, almost all of us teach in a live setting, and we are trying very hard to recognize that the world setting in which we're teaching has changed. And so for all of us to sort of try ahead of time to get a hold of that, I think it would be a really valuable way to spend what free time you have before you start here.
I'll jump in here as well and just say, when I see the question, what's a good way to spend the summer? I guess kind of, in addition to following what's going on and being aware of what's going on in the world, just getting in the right mindset by doing things that you enjoy doing. So I don't recommend necessarily specific books. I don't think you can get a jump start on what's going to happen in the classroom, again, because all the topics are different and the way they're all taught by the different professors are different. What do I wish students knew? I guess it's less of a wish you knew as a more of a thing you thought about, which is time management, because the classes have a lot of work outside of class, and the work inside of class is very intellectually both stimulating but draining. And so having a good feel for how you organize your time and your materials and your assignments will serve you really well if you can hit the ground knowing that I use my calendar for this and my to-do list for that, and I have reminders for this kind of thing, can really help sort of ease that transition in. I tell this story when I came to law school here at Albany Law School. We were about the third weekend, and it was about, I guess, 9 o'clock at night or so, and we were in the library, and one of my friends looked at me and said, "When did we start to study?" And it was obviously the first day we hit law school. None of us had done a whole lot of studying in college. We had done the work. We knew how to do the work. We were smart. But it was a very different experience when we hit law school. And I think many of us then, and I see many students these days, sort of cast about looking for a way to be organized. And I think having that in mind when you walk in the door, with some flexibility to make sure that it works for you, can be really useful.
And I'll jump in really quick, and I promise I won't sing this time. But I absolutely agree with all the prior comments. Time management is so critical. Organizational skills, that sort of thing. When I was in law school, I treated it like a job. I'd arrive at 8:30 a.m. or 9 a.m. I'd leave at 6, and I was dedicated to that job, if you will, during that entire time. But I think it's critically important to put together a schedule, to learn how to manage your time. And if you aren't used to following a specific schedule right now, that can be something you can start to ramp up during the summer. But more broadly, I think it's really important to pay attention to your mental and physical health and take the steps you need to do right now to ensure that you are ready to hit the ground running once school starts in the fall, whether that is ensuring that your diet is on point, that you have childcare lined up, that you have some opportunities just to enjoy yourself and prepare mentally for what you're about to face. So don't forget that you need to take care of yourself and love yourself as well when you move into law school.
Those are all fantastic points, I think. Yeah, definitely. I know we're running short on time here. I'm going to try and consolidate some of the questions from the chat here. We've had a couple of questions about field placements, internships, and clinical opportunities available to, say, 2Ls or 3Ls. Perhaps, which are the most popular field placements, or are there some that are unique to Albany Law School? If anybody on the panel wants to help us out with that.
I can grab that one, but hopefully my colleagues will jump in as well if I've forgotten anything. I mean, in terms of the in-house clinics, I think you heard Dean Ouellette tell you, I'm going to just repeat them so you have a sense of them. There's a health law clinic that deals with litigants and clients who are facing severe health issues, cancer, HIV. We have the Family Violence Litigation Clinic, which assists both children and adults who are facing issues of family violence. And in that particular clinic, the student lawyers go to family court or other courts and administrative hearings in order to advocate for their clients. There's the domestic violence prosecution hybrid, where it's sort of a hybrid between a field placement and an in-house clinic. You're placed in the district attorney's offices in the SVU unit, but you're also working directly with a full-time faculty member on your trial skills and working with her on your cases as well. We have the Immigration Law Clinic, which is a popular clinic, and there you're helping litigants who are facing issues of immigration. And then we have the Community Development Clinic, which is our only transactional clinic. So you're still helping clients, but in transactional work as opposed to litigation. In terms of field place, I don't think I forget anybody, but jump in if I did. Now, in terms of field placement, I couldn't possibly give you the list. There's over 200. There's over 200 places you could work. And if you found an agency or an office where you wanted to work and it's not on our list, most likely you can get it on the list. So I couldn't even begin to tell you what's most popular. I can tell you the pockets. The judicial ones are very popular. There are many who will want to work for a particular judge for a semester and get credit. There's also the U.S. Attorney's Office, federal prosecutors, but also Albany County prosecution, public defenders. So there's those folks who want to work in the criminal arena. If you want to work in the environment, you can work for the DEC, Department of Environmental Conservation. If you want to work in gaming, you can work for the NYRA, New York Racing. If you want to work at Child and Family Services, you can work for OCFS. There are so many agencies, I couldn't possibly tell you all of them, other than to say that we really are lucky in that we have just so many opportunities. If you wanted to be in another state or city, we have semester in practice. So there are just enormous opportunities, and please jump in if I forgot anything. No? Okay.
And just to follow up on some of the messages in chat, if we do run out of time and we can't get to your question, we'll definitely follow up. We're keeping track of all these things, and we're going to get them out to either professors or students or whoever we can to get all the questions answered. We just only have so much time.
And some of it will be touched on in the student panel as well, right? So some of the topics that you all are talking about can sort of bridge that gap between faculty and students as well. I did see there was a couple questions about sort of how do office hours work, particularly for part-time students, and if you could mention a little bit about how the curve works. any of our faculty that want to jump in.
I could briefly talk about office hours, and hopefully others can chime in as well. So there's a few things. One, every professor has stated office hours in terms of when you can come in to see a professor one-on-one. But I think we, by and large, have an open door policy as well. I tell my students, feel free, even if it's not Tuesday between 1 and 3 p.m. or whatever it happens to be, to swing by my office if you just have a random question or if you have a specific question. Or you can also just let me know that you want to set up a specific time to talk, either again in person or via phone, or a Zoom session, which I'm holding with a lot of my students right now. And I think you'll find a lot of willingness and interest among your faculty to work with you in terms of finding a good time to meet or at least to talk. I've had sessions, I don't throw my colleagues under the bus, I've had meetings with students during the weekend even, because that's just what worked best for them. And so if you're a part-time student, if you have a job, you have other obligations, just let your professor know that, and I think we'll be very willing to try to find a good way, a solution that fits your particular needs.
I agree. I try to have open office hours as Kristen does. I have set ones, but I'm also just around. As Kristen is around, Melissa's around, Ava's around, Rob's around. You'll find that we're a faculty that is generally, when we can be, that is generally on campus and generally have our doors open. I'm in a wing of the school. Every single faculty member in that wing, if they're in the office and there's not something confidential going on, will have their door open. And not just for formal meetings, but just for hellos, how are you doings, and that sort of thing. With respect to the curve, very briefly, we do, in first year classes, we do have a mandatory curve. That's a matter of simply being fair with multiple. In order to have smallish sessions, we have multiple sections, and therefore we don't want to have somebody punished by a different grading scale in one section than in another. So in first year courses, there will be a curve. In upper class courses, it depends again on whether there's multiple sections going on. Most of the classes you will take in your second and third year, there will not be multiple sections. You'll start to specialize and that sort of thing. And there is not a set mandatory curve in those kinds of courses.
Okay, and then maybe we can just slide in one more here before we head out. And it's one of the earlier questions. I think it might have got buried in the chat a little bit, but I was wondering if anyone could speak on the joint program to obtain a master's degree concurrently. I'm specifically interested in criminal justice program with UAlbany, but wanted a little more information and insight. Could somebody speak about the joint program?
I'm happy to. I advise those students who are getting a master's in social work as well as a JD, but also students who are getting MPHs, MBAs, and so on. And again, this is really where your faculty advisor is super helpful, because you need someone to help you with the sequencing and to make sure that you've taken the required courses and that you've taken, one from this list and one from that list. And it's a lot to really keep in mind because you're balancing two different schools. So we really work with you and the registrar's office very closely to make sure that you are taking the courses that you need to take when you are. And we try to support, your field work or whatever it may be that's in your other degree.
Thank you. So I just want to take a quick minute to, as we're going to have to, we can maybe fit in one more question, but I want everybody that's writing in the chat box to know, obviously we do have some of our faculty that are in there trying to answer your questions, and we absolutely will try to get to all of them by the end of the day. But we're also going to use this information, so thank you for sharing, to make sure we understand how better to communicate with you going forward. We will be planning future chat sessions and topical, sort of conversations about each of these things in greater detail. So today, because of our time constraints, we're trying to give you the broadest overview to sort of let you know what all is out there. And then we absolutely look forward to having deeper conversations with you, with those that are present as well as others, to really go into more of the deeper dive, the nuts and bolts of how and when you can select some of these opportunities. So I appreciate your patience and your participation. We can't wait to get you more information. Ben, did you have another question, Teed?
Not necessarily. I think we're kind of naturally answering some of these that are in the chat, but
Okay.
just to reiterate, we're going to have all these available through the follow-up sessions that we're going to be doing. So if we didn't get to yours, don't fret. We will definitely get to
Great.
that.
So maybe then in a couple minutes to wrap up this faculty panel, we're going to move on to the student panel. And in between, I want to make sure that our guests get to see our brand new virtual video tour of the law school. We know that it's sort of disappointing that you can't get physically on campus right now. So we're going to make sure we do our best to relieve some of that. But I want to thank our faculty, and if there's anything that in closing, things that you didn't get a chance to cover or say that you wanted to, you certainly do have a couple more minutes to close. Any parting thoughts or wisdom or things that they should be thinking about as they engage you further conversation after today?
The question is there anything else that they should be thinking about? Is that what you're asking?
Well, so if keep in mind, if there's anything that we didn't cover today, how can they sort of make good use of the faculty as a prospective student on the way in the coming months as they get to know you?
I think that's a great question. So I would say it's really helpful to try to formulate your questions, but you won't always know what questions to ask. So I wouldn't hesitate to reach out to us and to say, I have a vague interest here and I'd love to learn more about it, but I'm not sure what to come to you with. We can help you figure out what questions to ask. I think one of the things that's been most important during this COVID-19 crisis is everybody has to reach out in a way that's a little bit different than what we would do. When you're in person, you can just knock on somebody's door, poke your head in and see if they're available for a chat. Now it feels a little more formal, like you have to ask for our attention. Don't let that deter you. We're happy to sit down and talk with you. We're happy to just be resources. So let us be your guides for what kind of guidance you need as well, if we can.
Amy, let me ask you a question in regards to this question. Would you prefer that the admitted students come through your office and you direct them to us, or do you prefer that they simply go to the website, and if they're interested in Government Law Center, they contact Professor Ayers? If they're interested in immigration, they go to Professor Sunchrist?
Sure, that's a really great point. So I absolutely encourage direct communication. There's no problem with that. Not every communication has to be filtered through the admissions office. That being said, it is always nice if we kind of know what you're into and who you're talking with, so that we can help, continue building the conversation in a way that's going to move you forward in your particular interest, as opposed to just always telling you things that we think you need to know because we don't know that you've already moved on in some other direction. So I think keeping the admissions office looped in, and certainly if you don't know who to ask, then you can always come to us and we'll connect you with the appropriate people. But by no means should you feel like you need to hesitate to reach directly out to our community members. Our faculty bios are all on the website, as our student ambassadors, which you'll get to know a little bit more about after. So if you can find somebody there, as they've told you themselves, they are an open book and you can feel free to reach out. But if you're ever concerned or don't know who to ask, by all means, the admissions office is here to help you as well. So, okay, so I think I'm going to say thank you to our faculty panelists for the time being. We look forward to sort of hearing more from you, and I hope that our admitted students that are visiting have gotten a little bit of a taste, and that they'll follow up with you in the future. So thanks for your time today. We appreciate that. So as I did kind of mention, we have a great video tour of the law school so that you can really hope to see the physical space a little bit of our buildings and our campus. So we're going to play that up for you now. And then on the other side of that, we're going to chat with our Dean of Students and a panel of current law students.
Hi, welcome to Albany Law School. I'm Nick Wall. I'm a second-year student, and I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Welcome to Albany Law. My name's Ellis. I'm a second-year student, and I'm from Syracuse, New York.
Hi, I'm Christina. I'm a first-year student. I'm from Stamford, Connecticut. Hi, so Welcome. As you can see, we're standing right by one of the entrances. So this is one of 2 public entrances on campus. All other doors are key card access only. And as you can see, we also have a security desk here. So there is security here pretty much all the time. And we are standing right underneath this picture of one of Albany Law's most esteemed alums, Justice Robert H. Jackson, very well-known Supreme Court Justice. We are right now in the East Foyer. So the school is pretty much a big circle. You'll see as we go around. It can seem a little bit confusing at first. It took me, maybe a couple weeks to get it down, but it really is just a big circle, so it's not too hard to find your way around. This is one of the more popular classrooms. This is East 117. So this actually is the classroom where I currently have my Introduction to Lawyering class. So your first year, it's really easy to pick classes. You actually don't have to pick them. They're all laid out for you. Now we're going to check out the East Wing, which is one of the bigger lecture hall type classrooms. So welcome to the East Wing. So this is the type of classroom that most of your larger classes will be in. First year, pretty much every class except for Introduction to Lawyering. This is a pretty large room. There's well over 100 seats in here. From my experience, I know it seems really scary, right? You might have heard that first semester of law school, you have the dreaded cold calls where it's just you having to speak in front of your entire class. That will happen, I'm sorry to tell you, but you will get used to it, especially since, like I said, all of your classes will have, pretty much the same people in them, and this entire room will not be filled in your first year, probably the first 4 rows or so, because again, about 60 to 65 people will be in here. One of the best things about Albany Law School is all of the different opportunities that there are to get involved. So right here we have the Student Bar Association office. So if you're interested in government, which a lot of students here are, you can get some government experience by being on the student government. So SBA does a lot of really great things for the school, and they also oversee around 30 clubs and organizations, with new ones being added every year. So I hope you're enjoying this virtual tour so far. I hope to get to meet you next year or the following year or whenever you do enroll in Albany Law School. It's been great talking to you so far, and now Ellis is going to show you around a little bit more.
Over here we have the courtyard, so it's a nice area where you can get outside but still have everything that you need in the school. There's a solar charger out there where you can be charging your phone, your laptop, so that you can continue doing work while you're getting some fresh air. And then we're going to keep moving right along over to the cafeteria. So in here, there's plenty of space, plenty of tables for everyone around like noon, 2 o'clock to come in and get their lunch. Every student actually has a 1-hour block set so that everyone has time to eat their meals, go see professors. We even in the cafeteria have little chess and checkerboards as well as our community puzzle. So these are just good ways to de-stress while we're in school, kind of get your mind off of those contracts and torts cases and just communicate and hang out with one another. So then where you can come in and buy food, it's open from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. You can come get breakfast or lunch. And we're going to move right along into the locker room in here. When you're a first-year student, everyone automatically gets assigned a locker. So it's plenty of space to be able to throw in extra shoes, jackets, backpacks, purses, whatever you have. Behind you, we also have mailboxes. So every student actually has access to a mailbox. So this is like our upper class lockers. This is actually mine right here. So it's just an area where TAs or professors can put your papers back in there. If you wanted to leave something for a friend, you know exactly where you can leave it. All right, I hope you enjoyed the ride. We're now on the 4th floor of the law school, and we're gonna walk right into the DAMC. That's the Dean Alexander Moot Courtroom. So this is the largest room in the law school. It actually used to be the library years ago before they did renovations. So when you come in for orientation, as you can see, there's all these seats. This is where you're actually gonna meet everyone for the first time. We also do symposiums, we do lecture series, and you will have a couple classes in here, but don't be worried because you're never gonna fill this with any class. Normally the class sizes are still pretty small. We also do that moot court competition I was telling you about, where you actually have judges who are sitting in those chairs over there, and they're from the federal district courts, they're from the state circuit courts, or even from the state court of appeals. So I'm going to hand this off to Nick, and I think we're going to keep moving right along. Thanks for slowing down. I got short legs.
Yeah, I know, I see that.
All right, now we're just gonna lead you on right in here.
So this is another one of our bigger classrooms here on campus. This is the Matthew Bender classroom. One thing that I think is really kind of a cool part of the Albany Law School experience that we have is we actually do have a lot of good technological type things connecting us to the professors with microphones in case there are things such as like hard of hearing, or we have cameras up top too that allow for the online type of learning, online programs. If professors need to kind of record a class, they can do so straight from the actual classroom. Right here, we're actually walking to the McKinley Lounge is what we call this over here. Albany Law School is one of the oldest law schools in the country. And one of a very small few law schools that has actually produced a US president. So President McKinley came to Albany Law School here. One thing that I really like to point out that is kind of a cool little aspect of Albany Law School is Kate Stoneman is an alum of here as well. So Kate Stoneman was actually the first woman that was admitted to the New York State Bar. All right, so kind of moving along to here a little bit. Down to one of the more fun parts of campus. So obviously, Albany Law School, definitely one of the only schools in the country that has a basketball court in the middle of their law school. What's kind of cool about this basketball court is we actually do all sorts of different events in here. Every Halloween, we hold the Trick or Treat Street with kids from the community come through, and we have all the different clubs on campus that walk around and will give out candy to the kids as they're coming through, almost like it's their own little Trick or Treat Street is what we call it. But outside of that, we also have a basketball club that plays every Wednesday night. So kind of walking along too here, right across from the gym, we also have the Dean Suites. So it's the president and dean, Alicia Ouellette. She's actually also an alum of the law school as well. So this is actually one of my favorite rooms on campus here. We have class in actual moot court style rooms. So every single day I sat right over here and I was listening to my trust and estates professor talking up front, telling us all the intricate parts of the law. But while we were doing it, we were in this type of environment. And I think that that's something that's extremely valuable that you get out of Albany Law School. And this is what we refer to as the 200 room. Some of those bigger second and third year courses. A lot of events actually get held in here as well. Christina talked about how this is all kind of enclosed in a big circle. What's kind of cool is we have professor offices right here on the first floor. What that kind of provides for is that, ability to really be walking by, you see your professor's doors open, not feeling bad, just popping in, seeing if they could answer that quick question, or they can, have a moment to talk about whatever you're going through. We also have different resources that are available through our wellness initiative that really kind of focus on that mental health and that aspect of the, crazy stressful part of law school. One thing that's kind of cool about each of the foyers, so each class or most of the classes will have TAs, which is your teaching assistant, that will actually be a student that just recently went through the class, and they'll hold their office hours in between the two foyers. And you can stop by and ask them questions. It's a great spot to hang out, a little bit more of that natural light. So if you kind of need that little bit of extra headspace, or kind of going off of what we were talking about with some of those wellness initiatives that we do here with the law school, we have the Serenity Room, which is kind of a more quiet place that you can really kind of sit down and kind of get in that good headspace. So what advice would you have for an incoming first-year law student?
I would say to really take advantage of all the opportunities that you have here. I think you really hit it before when you were talking about how, professors' offices are right here, their doors are open, we have the great staff here. If I could go back and do my first year over again, I think I would have gone to more TA office hours. I did a pretty good job going to, put in FaceTime with professors, but really, taking advantage of all the opportunities that we have here on campus. What about you?
Yeah, I think that it is a really good point. Our student to faculty ratio is 8 to 1. And I think that approachability of the professors and being able to just kind of feel comfortable going in and talking to the professors is something that is really kind of that aspect of law school that not a lot of people think is going to be really accessible to them, but really going out of their way to be able to go and talk to professors and feel comfortable doing that, especially with these smaller class sizes, is something that, you know, knowing it coming in is a good thing to know that that is an option for people.
Thanks, Nick and Christina. We're now in the 2000 building. We're at the Career Center. So the Career Center here is great. When you're 1L, first year law student, you get assigned a career counselor that you get to work with for trying to get jobs while you're in and then after law school. And all of this information they have readily available in different pamphlets, and then you can also get one-on-one sessions. So if you need help with your writing samples, or you just want to do practice interviews, mock interviews, they'll even record these mock interviews, and then you can review it with your counselor to understand what is it that you really need to work on. Are you saying or are you stuttering, or how can you best present yourself? In the other half of this 2000 building, we have the Albany Law Justice Center. So you can kind of think of the Justice Center as the Albany Law School law firm, because in here we have 5 clinics where we allow students to have actual hands-on experience with helping real clients. So coming down here, you're definitely going to get plenty of experience at Albany Law School. Welcome to the Government Law Center at Albany Law School. So the Government Law Center deals with a lot of public policy issues. As your first year or second year law student, you can enter into the Government Law Center Fellowship, and so that gives you special access to the legislators and government workers that are here in the capital of New York that no other school really has, because we're the only school within about a 90-mile radius of us. So being able to have that access to that and have the Government Law Center here really gives you unique advantages if you do choose to go work in government. And welcome to the 3rd floor of the 2000 building. So this is where our business offices are. This is where the alumni relations offices are. This is where the institutional advancement offices are. These are everyone who kind of keeps the machine moving forward, that is Albany Law School. So one of the things that the alumni relations office actually does is a program called AIM. It stands for Alumni and Mentoring. And so that's something that I actually took advantage of while I was a first year student here, where I had an alum who was also my mentor and could really work with me on, trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my career as a lawyer, things that I needed to work on, help me with resume, make different connections within the legal community here. And to end, so we are now in the boardroom, and on behalf of myself, Nick, and Christina, as well as the entire Albany Law family, we just want to say thank you for taking this time to take this tour with us, and that we really hope to see you soon.
Great.
Mute this.
All right. So
I muted the actual.
Thanks for sharing that video with us, Dean Haynes. I hope that, those of you who haven't had a chance to set foot on campus yet got a taste of the beautiful facility that we really have. It is definitely coveted. There are a lot of students who, when they do visit, they say, wow, this really feels like a law school. And we know it's a really great space, and we are lucky and blessed to have it every day. So we're going to now move on to our student panel. I know you're all dying to hear from them. So we have our Dean for Student Services, Dean Queenan. She's here, so I'm going to pass it over to you, and you can take it from now.
Hi, everyone. Congratulations and welcome. We're so excited that that we're seeing you today. And this is, well, first of all, let me just say what an amazing video, and a huge shout out to our superstar students who are multi-talented, as you can see, even strong basketball skills, I noticed. So thank you all for doing that. It was great, and it really is a great place to be. Actually, I thought I would start, so you've been sitting for a little while. Anybody want to do a big stretch? Okay. And can you all hear me okay? Can you give me a thumbs up? Okay, good, good, great. Okay, so as Dean Mangione said, I'm Rosemary Queenan. I am the Dean of Students. I'm also a professor at the law school. I teach a number of classes, including a first-year class, which is Federal Civil Procedure, and hopefully you will join us in the fall and you'll be in my class. I guess not all of you could be in my class, but I hope that many of you join us and are in my class. But I want to tell you a little bit about my role as Dean of Students and the Student Affairs Office. So our goal, and my goal in particular, is really to serve as your support, right? So I often will meet with students. I try to give them advice, counsel them, and do whatever I can to support you, and also work closely with others throughout the school and our Director of Academic and Student Programs, Andrea Irizarry. If you join us, you will get a lot of mail from Andrea for orientation. But we all work really hard to support the students and the student organizations and provide programming to enrich your law school experience in general. I am often at the school. A lot of the day, you'll see me running around the school, as a lot of our students can tell you. And I feel incredibly lucky to work with this group of faculty, staff, and students. I feel like I am very lucky to have this job. Before I came here, which was in 2007, I practiced law, believe it or not, for 13 years. And that was great. I did a lot of litigation work, but when I started teaching in my last year, and part of the reason was I had such an amazing experience in my legal writing class that I decided that that was really what I wanted to do. And when I came here, I practiced in New York City. When I arrived, I immediately felt the sense of community at this law school, which is unlike any other. And I haven't been to that many, but I have been to several. And I could just tell you, coming from a big city, it is definitely a difference you will notice being at Albany Law School. So I knew right away it was a special place. And I feel very lucky to do this every day. So our goal in this session, I'm going to stop talking because you really want to hear from our students, is to give you a sense of what it's like to be a first-year student or a 1L, a second-year student, or a 2L, or a third-year student, or a 3L. So you'll see our students probably right now are scattered or, among the Zoom pages. Most of them are wearing Albany Law gear, and they will have by their name their class year. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk to each class here. We're going to ask a few questions, and please feel free to enter your question in the chat, and we will answer your questions as we go along. Okay, so I'm going to introduce the first-year students first, and then I'm going to ask them to share a little bit about themselves. So, and I'm going to kind of do, so how many of you are familiar with the cold call? So you heard a little bit about that, right? So, so this is going to be fun. I'm going to call on them the whole time, and they're going to love this experience, and it's going to be exciting for me too. Okay, so our 1Ls. So Gabrielle Bruno, say hi, Gabrielle.
Hi, everyone.
Katie Daniels.
Hi, everyone. Congratulations.
Albert Gower.
Hi, guys. Congratulations.
And Christina Vitolo.
Hi.
Okay, perfect. So, so Gabrielle, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what you did right before law school?
Yes, so I am local. I'm from Guilderland, New York, and I graduated from SUNY Cortland in 2018. I decided to take a year off in between undergrad and law school. I interned in Washington, D.C. for a little bit, and then I came back up to Albany. I worked in a lobbying firm in downtown Albany, and then I started at Albany Law in the fall.
Great. Katie?
So I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, and landed in Albany for undergrad. And then I took 4 years off and was in sales, corporate sales, and then decided to come to law school and love Albany.
Next, we have Albert.
Hi, guys. So I went to the University of Rochester. That's where I did my bachelor's degree. After that, I went home to the Hudson Valley. I'm from the Poughkeepsie area, if anybody knows that. And I worked for a couple of years before I got summoned for jury duty, which inspired me to apply for law school.
Great. And finally, our video star, Christina. She may look familiar to you.
Yeah.
So I'm not good at basketball. So
I thought you
good
did
at other
pretty
things.
well.
Yeah. So I'm from Stamford, Connecticut originally. I took about 6-7 years off after undergrad. I went to SUNY Purchase in Westchester. And after that, I worked at a nonprofit, a domestic violence and sexual assault agency in Rockland County, New York. And then I moved up here for school.
Okay, so welcome, one else. So Christina, I'm going to go back to you. And I'm going to ask you all to tell us why you chose Albany Law School. So right, many of you came from other places. So what made you choose Albany Law School, Christina?
Yeah, so like a lot of people, I was mostly motivated by the location. You know, I did work in a nonprofit, so I'm very interested in public interest and government type work initially coming in. So I love the Capital Region. Also, I just really love the tight-knit feel. I went to a small undergrad, so I wanted to pick a school that had a smaller student body and a close community.
Great. Let's go to Albert.
Yeah, so pretty similar to the reasons Christina already mentioned. I came into law school with a big interest in government law, and I'm a native New Yorker, so coming to the capital of one of the biggest states in the country seemed like an obvious fit.
And Albert, this is true for another one of our panelists, but sight unseen, I understand.
Yeah, so I had driven past the school before and I like looked out the window of my car to see it, but I was making decisions in a little bit of a crunch. So I know a lot of people with everything going on are not having the opportunity to visit. So if anyone wants to shoot me a message about that, I'll put my email in there and I'm happy to chat with them about it.
Great. Katie, how about you?
So I chose Albany Law School because in the professional field in Albany, I knew a lot of law school alums, from Albany Law School alums, and everyone just had a great thing to say about it. And like Dean Queenan was alluding to earlier, there's really a sense of community and culture that you don't get to experience at other law schools. And so I thought if I'm going to go to law school, I might as well enjoy it. And I also knew that Albany Law School offers a wide variety of courses, and I wasn't 100% sure what type of law I wanted to practice. So I thought that would be a good option for me.
And Gabrielle?
So there were two reasons why I chose Albany. The first one was like Katie, I wasn't sure what kind of law I wanted to get into, and I liked the hands-on aspect with field placements and the clinic options and semester in practice options. So I didn't want to feel tied down in any way. And then the second one was I really liked the building. I liked how everything was a circle. You saw in the video, like everyone is always in the hallway and chatting, and I really liked that feel. It felt very law school.
It really is a circle, and I can tell you that it does take a couple of days, but it is relatively easy to navigate after you've done it a few times. And we will take you on a tour during orientation, and everyone is so helpful that they'd be happy to take you around. We actually, this year during orientation, did a little bit of an amazing race to get everybody oriented to the buildings and the spaces. So maybe we'll bring that back again this year. Okay, great. So feel free if you have questions to let us know, but I'm gonna call on Albert to ask him what, if anything, surprised him about law school.
Yeah, so in kind of just research about law school generally and in the schools that I did have a chance to visit, I had heard from a lot of people about how cutthroat law school could be, you know, how competitive it was by nature. And having been out of school for a couple of years, I was pretty anxious about that. But I was so thrilled that when I did start school here, I just didn't really get, you know, any anxiety from that. I didn't get that sense that Albany Law School was like that. I just felt so welcomed by the administration and faculty, and there was such a cooperative like nature from the students that I just felt right at home instantly.
Anyone else want to share? Anything else that surprised you? Katie? Christina?
What surprised me was, so it's not a maze of a school, but it definitely takes at least a few days to get used to. And I would ask probably the first like 10 school days straight, just someone random about how to get to a specific place. And nobody ever was annoyed. Everybody always went out of the way to help me, and they didn't have to do that. But everybody was just super helpful.
The gym, I feel, is also very grounding. If everyone finds the gym, then they can sort of figure out where they're going. Katie, did you do anything? So we had this question earlier to the faculty. I don't know if you were on the call yet, but there was a question about whether you did anything to prepare for law school before you arrived.
So in anticipation of doing a lot of legal reading, and with the expectation that I wouldn't be able to read for pleasure much anymore, I just read a lot of fiction books and nonfiction books, and just kind of appreciated the time that I had to do relaxation activity while I had it. And I think that was a good move. And I know a few professors were saying before, it might not be the best thing to come in and try to learn all the material before you come in, because that's what they're there for. So I would recommend maybe really spending time with family or doing things that you like to do, because you won't have a ton of extra time in school.
Yeah, I did not tell Katie to say this, but it's actually the answer I usually give people that ask, because the other benefit, I mean, in addition to enjoying reading the things you want to read, the other benefit is it gets you in the habit of reading, and it gets your mind in the habit of reading, which is what you will spend a lot of time doing in law school. So I think from that perspective, it is a good way to prepare. But it's true, we don't expect you to come in. No, you wouldn't have to go to law school if we expected you to arrive knowing everything you were supposed to know in law school. That's our job. That's why we're here. That's what we want to do. So try not to take on too much of that before you arrive. Do you have any questions, Ben?
Nothing in particular in the chat, but if anybody does want to jump in the chat, you're more than welcome to.
All right, so I'm going to ask where, so Albert, I think Albert lives probably arguably the closest to the school. So maybe Albert could just share with us where he lives, and then we can see if we have any questions, and then we'll move on to the 2Ls.
Yeah, it's funny. We just actually got a question about that in the chat, but I can literally open my blinds to the right because I'm sitting right next to my window. And if I lean to the left enough, I can see the top of our building of the law school. So I live in the UH suites, which are basically almost like dorms that are set up just like literally, I think, a 3 or 4 minute walk from the law school. They're like beautifully clean, very well kept. They're pretty affordable. And like the biggest convenient thing for me about them is the location. They're super close to school. But then if you're a car person, you also have the option for a garage, which during the winter can be very nice. It means you don't have to get out during a snowstorm and shovel your way out. I live here this year, and I am going to do that the next year as well, and probably in my 3rd year as well.
Great, thank you. All right,
King Queen, we did have one that came in here, and I'm sure other people can talk about that. Some of the other grade levels can talk about this as we go along, but extracurriculars, for 1Ls in particular, is it tough to get in extracurriculars? Are you more focused on the academics, or is it more just how has that experience been?
Yeah, so the 2Ls are gonna talk a lot about this, but I think it would be helpful for the 1Ls to share their thoughts on this. So Christina, you wanna start?
Yeah, so I was actually thinking about this when you asked Albert what was the most surprising thing.
Mm-hmm.
For me, the 2 most surprising things are, 1, the classes are way more interesting than people like to do first year, but also I was surprised at the amount of time that I actually did have to devote to not leadership type activities in extracurricular activities, but I did a lot of volunteering for moot court. Obviously my schoolwork I prioritized, but I did, so I was able to volunteer for moot court, which I think taught me a lot about different types of law. And there's just a lot of stuff that happens during the day. Clubs have interest meetings during the lunch hour. Like there are a lot of ways to get involved, and it doesn't have to impact your schoolwork negatively.
Gabrielle, how about you?
So I'm not sure if you had mentioned this, but at the beginning of the year, there was a extracurricular fair where all the clubs were out in front of the library, and you got to go around and you know, give your email and talk to everyone. And I really enjoyed that. And I gave my email to probably every single club. And that was awesome because you got to see what clubs do what events. And, you know, I go to probably every event on campus because it's really enjoyable. But that was great to get me to like hone down in on what club I wanted to be a part of. I'm part of the Women's Law Caucus now, and I was able to volunteer for moot court. It was, so that really helped me.
Great. Yes. So usually a couple of weeks after orientation, all of the student organizations do the student organization fair, and it fills up the foyer. So if you remember from the tour when Christina started, it's all along that path she took. Each student org has a table. Sometimes they have nice little treats to get students to come to their tables. But it showcases everything that the students are doing, and then you can sign up and get on their listserv for future activities and meetings. And I know someone asked a question about whether we actually have a stage, and yes, we do. In the gym, along with basketball courts, we have a real stage. And we don't have a drama club, but we have a club called Chord Adjourned. Very clever, right? So, and they are, they really just get together and I guess jam together often. They have done a few more formal types of events, but my office happens to be right across from the gym, and I love when I hear them practice. If I'm there, sometimes when my door's open, I can hear them practicing on the stage. And so it's a great group. But I will tell you, and we're gonna shift it. This is a great segue into the 2L panel, that we have more than, I think we have 30 student organizations and counting, because often the Student Bar Association, which is our student government, will be presented with a proposal for a new club. So I think the newest one, we've had some really new ones. We have a chess club, which is relatively new, and there's some other ones that I'm sure someone can remind me about or chat about. So I'm going to move on to the 2Ls. I want to give them a chance, and we have a strong showing of 2Ls on this panel. So I'm going to ask you all just to give a quick hi, and then I'll follow up with more information about you. So we have Ellis.
Hi, everybody.
Noor.
Hi.
Gianni.
Hi, everyone.
Nick.
How's it going?
Alicia.
Hi, everyone.
Joe.
Hi, everybody.
And Megna.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, great. Thank you all. So you may hear this. The 2Ls are known to be the busiest students on campus. They often, you know, as a 1L, we tell you to focus on your classes, which you should, and you should focus on classes your second and third year too, by the way. But first years, you know, we try to just tell them to be selective and careful about getting overly involved. The 2Ls then are so eager because they haven't had a chance to be fully involved that they get involved in everything in most cases. So I've asked them to sort of showcase the extra and co-curricular activities they've been involved in. You have to understand that many of them are involved in more than one thing. So I'm going to ask them to touch on one particular activity that I know they're involved in, but obviously they can elaborate as much as they want and answer any of your questions. So Gianni. So Gianni is an admissions ambassador. So I've asked him to talk a little bit about what that is and how his experience has been doing that.
Yeah, so as an admissions ambassador, basically I will give people tours, I will talk to prospective students, and I'll just give people advice about law school in general. So working in the admissions office has honestly been one of my favorite things about law school. By doing that, I've talked to just about everybody in the building. The law school, like one of the reasons why I came to Albany Law was because I could tell that it was a little bit different from other law schools. It was more close-knit. And I mean it. I know everybody in the building. Like there's very I couldn't tell you a staff member that I don't know their name. And that's just different for me because I went to SUNY Brockport, which is a bigger school, and never could I tell you anybody's name. So that's personally what I like. It's great to be able to, you know, talk to prospective students and help people out. But yeah, it's just definitely helped me like network and get to know a lot of people.
Thank you. It's true. You know, I often will see Gianni and others doing the tours, and it's great because you hear them out in the hallways bringing people around, and then they come and visit me, and I love that. So what they do is really valuable, and it's called a work study position. So in your second and third years, we have some work study positions available. Actually, Katie and Gabrielle are doing work study positions with the Student Affairs Office. So admissions has work study positions. The library has work study positions. Some are, you know, very highly sought after. So you may have to wait a little while, but we also have faculty hire research assistants. So there are a lot of opportunities to get involved that way. So I'm going to go to Alicia. Alicia has had like a rock star moot court year. She and her partner, Shelly Daniels, have won 2 competitions this year in client counseling and our appellate advocacy competition. So Alicia is involved in many other things too, and she's welcome to talk about that. But I thought it would be nice for you to hear a little bit about how valuable that experience was to her as a second-year student.
Okay, everyone. So yeah, once you're a 2L, you're eligible to participate in the moot court competitions. Our school hosts a couple of competitions in addition to client counseling and the Gabrielle competition. We also do negotiations and senior prize. So, so different interests for different people. I think that one of the most rewarding experiences I did was doing a moot court competition because you're working with a partner and it changed. Every round is different. I mean, client counseling and the Gabrielle competition are 2 different skill sets. You know, client counseling is more focused on interviewing clients and finding out their needs, which is something that all lawyers need to do in the real world, is talking to clients, how to interact with them. And Gabrielle was more about appellate advocacy and advocating for one side before a panel of judges. So, you know, oral arguments is different than talking to one client. So they really test out different skills, and both of them are very great. Gabrielle is only open your second year of law school. So if you want to do it, you have to do it your second year. So it is one of the more competitive competitions, I would say, in the school, because everyone in your class is going to do it. But it is definitely, it's a lot of fun. Once you get over writing the brief, it is a lot of fun to actually argue in front of the judges and hear their questions and see how they think about it, and just think on your feet. A lot of it is thinking on your feet, which is very realistic to what you'll be doing in real life. So you're just getting a lot of like practical skills outside of the classroom environment.
And I in the interest of time to get to the substance, I didn't have each of the 2Ls so far introduce themselves, but I will let you know Gianni's from Rochester and Alicia's from New York City. So, and I'm sure they'd be happy to answer other questions about what they did before, but I just want to make sure we can get through.
Yes. We did have one question come in about law review.
Okay.
I know Alicia is involved in law review. If she could just kind of give us a little overview of that.
That's great. Thanks.
Sure. Yeah, so I am on law review. There's 3 journals the school has. All 3 of them you have the potential to grade on. If you do not grade on, you can also do the write-on competition, which will be available to you at the end of your 1L year, which is going to test your editing skills using the Blue Book, which I would recommend that everyone buy a Blue Book during the summer because you will need it for lawyering, and keep it, don't rent it, but buy one for yourself. And, you know, law review is a lot of work. Being on journal in general is a lot of work, there's a lot of editing, but it is a very rewarding experience because a lot of employers are looking for people that do a journal that are on law review because you get certain skill sets from it. And a lot of positions, if people are interested in like big law or clerking, they kind of require you to be on a journal. So, you know, it's definitely something to work towards. So if you want to be on a journal, take your 1L year very seriously, take your grades very seriously. And if you are not able to grade on, I mean, just know that you have the opportunity to do the write-on competition.
Thanks, Alicia. So next we have Nick from Wisconsin, also sight unseen, right, Nick?
Oh yeah. Yep, I didn't get the chance to actually get to Albany until about a week before orientation. I'd actually never even been to New York before. So when I came to school, I actually packed everything up into my car and then drove 1,000 miles and showed up in Albany. So
that's great. So Nick is very heavily involved in our rugby club, and we have a women's and a men's rugby club. So I'll let him share. It is quite a tradition of Albany Law School, and so I'll let Nick just share a little bit about how the experience of rugby has impacted his student life.
Oh yeah. Actually rugby, it was funny when I came to the law school, and it's actually in my little thing that I have on the website for the student ambassadors, but I came in and the dean was actually in the admissions office, and she was like, looked at me and she's like, you ever thought about playing rugby before? Not knowing that I'd actually played rugby for 5 years at this point already. So when I came in, I got involved with rugby right away. A couple of things that I've thought coming out of the whole rugby experience with the law school is it's really important to kind of have another outlet outside of just, you know, doing the studying, doing the schools, going to class. And one thing that we work on with the rugby club in general is just kind of having that little bit of time during the week to, you know, get your legs, stretch your legs out, play a competitive game, have fun, but also knowing that we're all in it together. You know, we're all law students, having that as like the main goal. And actually one thing that's incredible, so she talked about the history a little bit of the rugby team. This year would be the 35th annual William Watkins tournament, I believe.
Wow.
In the spring. And just throughout that, there's a huge alumni network that has been kind of attributed with the rugby team. I know personally this upcoming summer, I got an internship kind of based off of my alumni connection through rugby. So it's incredible. It's been a lot of fun and getting to know a lot of these older guys and some of these people that have gone through the law school and getting to know them through rugby too. So
that's great. And you may have seen on the tour briefly, there's actually a pretty nice field. We share it with the School of Pharmacy and an undergrad institution called SAGE. And there are lights and there's a really nice track around it. So it's actually a pretty nice space for that. Next, we're going to go to Meghna. So Meghna is from Ohio, right, Meghna? Mm-hmm. Yep. So Meghna, can you tell us, Meghna is the president of the second year class, which means she is part of the Student Bar Association. So I wanted her to share a little bit about that experience and the SBA in general.
So I started SBA last year as a 1L senator, and it was just a really great way for me to kind of create my own community. I kind of had a community very early on that really gave me advice that kind of structured how I really approached my 1L year. Like a lot of the 2 or 3Ls are really invested in general in this school, but it was really nice to have the SBA there asking me and kind of guiding me through it. But it's kind of really great if you want to also get to know your peers, because I know that was really big for me, is I really wanted to know my class. And through SBA, I really had the chance to. And I also had the chance to kind of see all the organizations we have, because we do the budget for all the groups. And it's really cool because you get to know all the activities that are going to happen and kind of have the chance to go to them, but also kind of see how we can really form a community. And I think that's the best part about SBA, is we really try to make our community a place where everyone can succeed. And that could be listening to someone's concerns or bringing questions to the administration, but it's a really great way to support all our students.
Great. So I'm going to go to Joe, who's from Long Island. And Joe is on our moot court board, right? So Alicia talked about participating in the competitions. Joe is actually on the board, but I think because we had so many questions about field placement, and I'm going to talk to Alex Marie, who's in her third year, about that. But I think, Joe, you've done a very popular field placement. Someone asked what the popular field placement is with Justice Clark. So maybe you could just talk a little bit about your field placement experience, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so I actually interned for Justice Clark, but I also, but I do know that she does field placements. If
You did it during the, so explain what the difference is.
Yeah, okay, so my first, I mentioned this in the chat, but so my first summer, I ended up working for Judge Clark of the Appellate Division, 3rd Department. You start applying around December, January time of your first year, and that's when all the chaos starts. And, but she was great, but one thing about me was that I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I came into law school. I came from math teaching, and it was very scary going from numbers to words. So Justice Clark gave me that opportunity. And then the field placements, that's during the school year, and you get credit for that. So, oh God, 5 credits, I think it was. So 5 credits, and 4 of it's just for putting in about 12 to 13 hours a week. And then the other 1 credit would go towards the classroom component. And my field placement was with the Albany County District Attorney's Office.
Also popular.
Also popular. And I loved every second of it. So everybody works with you. I actually decided to keep volunteering for them. So yeah.
Yeah, great. Yeah, and somebody asked, can you only do that in your 3rd year? So as Joe just discussed, you can start doing clinics or placements in your 2nd year. There's an application process, but it actually should start by saying it's a requirement. It's a graduation requirement that you do a field placement or a clinic, but you can do more than one. So everyone has to do one or the other, but there are so many, as Dean Millette was saying, so many field placement opportunities in the Capital Region that it's going to be, hard to decide, I think is typically what the challenge is. Okay, I'm gonna go to Noor, who's actually from Canada. And I'm going to ask her to talk about, so Noor is the president of the Muslim Law Students Association. So I'm going to ask her to talk a little bit about that. And, as I said, we have many, many student organizations. So we're just going to highlight a few of them. But Noor, if you could talk about that, that would be great.
Yes, so like Dean Queenan had mentioned, I'm the president of the Muslim Law Student Association, as well as the vice president of the Asian Pacific American Law Student Association. And being a part of an affinity group gives you a great sense of community within our law school. Actually, before spring break, Meghna and I had co-hosted a networking event for the students to meet with attorneys from the Capital Region and kind of build those connections and, help them with their interviewing and internships.
Great, thank you. And then finally, in the 2L session, we have Ellis, our other basketball star. Where are you, Ellis?
I'm right here.
You made a good shot.
I don't know. I thought I missed almost every shot that they had, so they must have. I got lucky.
Oh, they moved it over. It was a little bit of
editing is fun.
Yeah. It looked like it went right in, so I don't know. You should have stuck with that. All right, so Ellis is on a different journal. He is on the Government Law Review. So maybe you could just share a little bit about your experience with GLR.
Yeah, so I'm on Government Law Review. So we have the 3 journals. Just to expand a bit on what Alicia said about like what journal actually does. So what journals are soliciting articles from academic and practicing legal scholars about the law, and then what we do as editors is we edit the articles and we just get them ready to publish into yearly issues. So the whole idea with journals is to keep pushing legal scholarship forward. So if students are working on your editing skills, we also write a note and comment. So like I'm fulfilling my upper level writing requirement by being on journals. So I'm writing a minimum 25-page paper about the effectiveness and economic benefits of heightened building code standards in the face of natural disasters. So what I'm doing is like pulling from my experiences before law school, having worked in disaster relief, and publishing a paper about that.
It's great. So before we go to the 3Ls, I'm just going to ask a couple of the 2Ls to share sort of what they do for fun when they're not in classes or hanging out with one another at the law school. So Nick, maybe you could just talk about the opportunities available in the region of things to do for fun.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't know. For me personally, I like to get kind of outdoors. I like to do, you know, some hiking, some stuff like that. So the proximity of the law school is amazing for that, because I think we're about like an hour south of the Adirondacks. We're an hour north of the Catskills. There's tons of really cool hikes around there. Thatcher Park is really close. Another beautiful area around the Albany area. I know kayaking on Hudson River is cool because Hudson River is so close as well. For me too, somebody mentioned the other day about the Troy Farmers Market.
Yeah.
Incredible spot too. Really cool to get across the river and hang out in, you know, the history in the area and kind of see the Troy Farmers Market and get around with that stuff.
Yeah, you'll hear a lot about our location, right, and how helpful it is as a student for jobs and internships and all of that being in the capital. But you'll also hear this often, like where we are in relation to everything else, right? So everyone says we're very close to New York City, and it's true. We are. It's a quick 2.5 hour train ride to New York City. We're also very close to Boston, 2.5 hours from Boston. But we're also very close to a lot of really beautiful places like Lake George, the Adirondacks. Many of you don't remember when the Olympics were in Lake Placid, but Lake Placid, I always recommend a trip to Lake Placid to the students because it's something, it's someplace I never had even thought about going to until I moved to Albany, and now I go there every year. My kids play ice hockey, so we're often there in the winter, but I love it in the summer. It is just a beautiful, beautiful place. So, and the Berkshires are really close. And so there's a lot of outdoor and cultural places that are really not that far and fairly easy to get to. But you also have the benefit of not being in a crazy city atmosphere, if that's something that you like. So, okay, I'm gonna go to the 3Ls. Finally made it to the 3Ls. So, so we have three 3Ls. Kayla Potter. Kayla, where are you?
Hi.
Hi. Alex Marie Baez.
Hi.
And Kieran Murphy.
Hi, everybody. Congratulations on your admission.
Hi, everyone. So soon to be saying congratulations to the three of you, right? And in fact, Kayla can introduce herself first as the one that has already taken the bar exam. So Kayla, just tell us where you're from. I know, give her claps. Where you're from and a little bit about what you did before you arrived at Albany.
Sure. So hi, everyone again. My name is Kayla Potter. I'm from Endicott, New York, small town near Binghamton, New York. I actually came to Albany to go to the University at Albany. So I moved up here to complete my undergraduate degree. I fell absolutely in love with the Albany area. I never looked back. I never left. So
nice. Kieran.
So like Kayla, I'm a traditional student. I came right from undergrad, but I went to SUNY Binghamton right before this, where I studied neuroscience and financial economics.
Kind of an interesting transition, neuroscience to law school, right?
It wasn't that bad.
Yeah. Alex Marie.
I'm another one of our sight unseen students.
Oh, you
actually.
are?
Yeah, and I never showed up here before. I
And
showed up
from
here
Florida?
to grad school.
Oh
Yes,
my gosh.
I'm originally from Newport Richey, Florida. If you're a fan of that wonderful new show, Tiger King, I am near that Tampa area. Before I came here, I was attending Texas Tech University, and then I packed up all my stuff from Texas and came up here to Albany.
I love it. That's great. So, Alex Marie, I'm going to ask you, right? So the three of you have had some time at Albany Law School. if you could tell us what has been the most, or if you need to, that's fine. Hopefully there are many rewarding experiences since you've been at Albany Law School.
There's two I want to highlight. I've been thinking about this a lot.
Okay.
There's a lot of chatter about clinics. I know a lot of you want to know about clinics, and I actually want to point out that the health law clinic was one of the most rewarding experiences for me, in the way that it gave me a very realistic view of what practicing might actually look like. I actually happened to have a very hectic time in the clinic, I'm not going to lie. One of our cases turned into a whole different new kind of case. I was in family court, we were in administrative court, but we were like getting to do the actual practicing, the actual litigating. And it really showed me what a late night trying to write a brief could be like, and what it's like to stand before a judge. And it was so enlightening to actually experience what it might actually be like when we get out of school. And other than the clinic, I have been a TA now for my last 2 years. And that has really taught me that I very much enjoy teaching. I am a TA for a pretty unpopular class, legal writing. Some of my students are actually here. Two of my students are.
It's a little bit of love-hate, that class.
It's a little bit of love-hate.
Right?
I personally love it because I like writing, but I know that's a very unpopular opinion. But that has been very rewarding to me because it has really taught me that I really enjoyed the teaching aspect of things as well.
That's great. Well, we thank you for doing that, because I see you're getting lots of chats about how great you are. And it's something you should all know is when you come in as a first-year student in your required courses, you'll have teaching assistants in your courses. And they are obviously 2 and 3L students who have, in most cases, taken the class with the same professor, right? So they know the professor, they can help you get through the material, they do office hours, and they are just, I mean, speaking from the perspective of the faculty member, they are awesome, and they, I don't know what I would do without having my teaching assistants, and I know that all the faculty all feel that way. So thank you for sharing that. So I'm going to go to Kieran. Kieran, tell us what your most rewarding experience has been.
I've been lucky enough to take on a decent amount of leadership roles here at the law school. So I think I would highlight those. I'm the executive director of the moot court program. So if anyone has any questions about moot court, can email me. I'm also the president of the 3rd year class. So that's been really awesome too. But I think the overall most rewarding experience, and I think any 3L would have to say, is getting a job offer, and I'm lucky enough to have gotten one of those. I worked last summer, where I'll be working again, at a law firm in New York City, which is one of the larger law firms at Hudson Yards. I'll be practicing white collar investigation and securities litigation. So if anyone's interested in a corporate litigation track, I am totally willing and able to talk a lot about it.
Kieran, just because this question came up, I think, earlier, do you want to talk a little bit about the experience of working in New York City and maybe the process a little bit for those who might be interested in that particular track?
Yeah, sure. So I think I see Joanne Casey in the chat, and she is just a great contact to have. Anybody in the Career Center is a great contact to have when you first get to the law school. So Joanne could speak to this, I'm sure, privately too, but the first thing I did when I got here was set up a meeting with her and try to figure out what exactly I needed to do in order to get down to New York City, because it had always been a dream of mine. And to be honest, I kind of came here thinking that it was going to be difficult to do. And it really wasn't. It was tough the first year, obviously, and every 3rd year, 2nd year, and 1st year would agree with that the first year is difficult. But I think that speaking to the process in general, after your first year, you go on a round of interviews called on-campus interviews. I don't know if some of the 0Ls are familiar with that. And you kind of cattle call to a bunch of different law firms in New York City. And something that I would highlight is that we have an extensive alumni network down in New York City, which resulted in me, I think, definitely getting the job that I have now. There's about 10 or 11 alumni of the law school that work at the law firm that I'm working at. So it's really awesome to be able to see the sense of community kind of exist down in Albany the same way that it exists up here. And that's kind of what attracted me to like that big law path, was seeing how many people were successful that had gone here on that track. So like I said, I'm totally here to talk about any of that.
Thank you. So Kayla, I'm going to ask you two questions. The first is related to bar prep, since you're the one that just took the bar exam. So can you tell us a little bit about what your experience was like preparing for the bar exam in terms of the resources provided by the law school? And then I just want you to talk a little bit about your experience and your perspective on the relationship, the Albany Law community, and the relationship with faculty, staff, alumni, and trustees. Kayla was selected during her second year. You can apply for, and she was selected to serve as a student representative on our board of trustees. So she attends board meetings. She's often asked for her input, and she has been able to network with our board, which includes many of our alums. So Kayla.
Sure. So a lot of this I can actually all kind of tie together. One of the things that I've been thinking about while sitting here is it actually was an accepted Students' Day, which is that brought me to Albany Law School. I fell absolutely in love with the community that was there, the faculty and the staff. And that was true from the very first day that I stepped foot up until every single day that I was studying for the bar exam. One of the cool things that Albany Law does is they provide you with a bar prep coach, which I have to shout her out, Dean Mangione, the Dean of Admissions, who's in this chat, served as my bar prep coach and was there for me absolutely every step of the way. The same thing rings true for every other faculty member. Dean Ouellette and Dean Queenan checked in on me just about every chance that they could get. Did I have enough to eat that day? How is everything going? She laughs, but she knows it's true. Just the support system, I could not have asked for anything better than the community that this school provides for you from that very first day at orientation up until every single day that you're studying for the bar exam, because you spend all 3 years really working up to the bar exam ultimately, and really having that support all the way through is what I think makes such a big difference. I'll also say the same is true for our Board of Trustees. Our Board of Trustees is present at just about every single thing they possibly can. You will never find, in my opinion, a group of individuals stronger and more involved than our alumni network, and that includes our Board of Trustees. They genuinely are so invested in each and every one of our students. They want everyone to succeed, and they will do absolutely everything that they can do to succeed. As Dean Queen had mentioned, I did get the privilege of sitting through the Board of Trustees meetings, and really each and every one of these meetings, they want to know how the students are doing. They want to know what they can do to help the students, and there's really just no experience like the one that's present at Albany Law.
Thanks, Kayla. And thanks for serving as our trustee. So I'm gonna, I know we're a little bit tight on time, but I'm gonna ask each student.
Oh, Dean Queenan, before that.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. We just had a question, and since we have Kieran here, we had a question about moot court come in. I know Kieran knows a thing or two, I guess, about moot court. No, you're like
I hope so.
Anyway,
so.
Kieran, if you just talk about moot court a little bit, I think a couple of people in the chat would like it.
Sure. So I know that it gets confusing because each law school does moot court a little bit differently. The way that we do it here is that we have two silos of our program, kind of like a right hand, left hand. On your right hand, we have the intramural program, which is kind of the in-house competitions that Alicia was alluding to earlier. So that'd be our appellate advocacy, 2 alternative dispute resolution competitions at a mock trial competition. So we have that at the law school, where law school students at Albany compete against other students from Albany. And we have tons of local judges from all the courts on all the levels come and judge those competitions. So at least on that hand, the networking opportunities are unbelievably tremendous. I got my field placement from doing a moot court competition, so that's a perfect example. And then on the left hand, we have a travel program. So we send students from the law school around the country to compete on behalf of Albany, which is just an awesome thing to see, that the Albany Law School name can be put on a national map And I'm sure anybody that does the moot court program could attest to the fact that it's also a great opportunity to see that the education that we're receiving here at the law school is on par or greater than the law schools that are at the top of these like ranking charts and stuff like that. Moot court is a great way to really realize, I think, how lucky we are to be getting the education we are in the intimate way that we are. Just so I would just say anybody that wants to do moot court, you should definitely do it.
Thanks, Kieran. Okay, so we're gonna do a little rapid fire 1 sentence, please, of advice you would give to a student who is about to embark on a law school career. So I'm just gonna randomly call on you, so get thinking. So what is your 1 piece of advice? I'm gonna start with Ellis.
I'm going to say patience, because right when you get here, you might not get it. I came from a science background, and so the writing style was different for me. And so learning those types of skills that was a big learning curve. But once I got it, I like hit the ground running. So.
Okay, thank you. Alicia.
One advice I would say is that even as a 1L, grades are very important, but I believe that so is networking. So if you have the opportunity, attend events, meet our alumni, meet other practitioners in the area, because creating those relationships early will only help you.
Christina.
I'm gonna say do the readings and go to class.
Nice. Noor.
I would say to know yourself and to trust yourself. Don't let anyone else try to scare you.
Kayla.
I would say take advantage of anything that might interest you in the slightest. Don't ever put yourself in a box. There's so many new opportunities that you'll experience. So take advantage of anything that might come across your path.
Katie.
I would say find your tribe and hang on to those law school friends, because from what I can tell from practicing lawyers is that they'll be your friends for life, and there'll be a big support system in finals.
That's true. I actually just had a conversation with my one of my closest friends from law school who introduced me to my husband, and I was on the phone with her. Her daughter is now, this is how old we are, her daughter is now looking at Union College, and I introduced her as the reason my daughter was born. So she got a big kick out of that, which is, it's very true. That's how I met my husband. So it's very true. You meet these people that then are in your lives forever.
And Rosemary, your husband's an alum. You didn't.
That's true. That. He is an alum. He's very fond of Persia, in fact. Yeah, and some of you have met him. I don't know if any of the current students, but he's a character. Okay, so Joe.
I would say definitely embrace it. Coming from Long Island, I wanted to go somewhere that felt like home, and I felt like the more involved I got, the closer to home I felt.
Nice. Gabrielle.
I would say go to every event that you are able to go to. I think that I was able to get my internship coming up this summer because of people I networked with at events, and it was very, very helpful.
Kieran.
I think the greatest piece of advice I could give is really put a huge emphasis on your academics your first year, and with that, take advantage of the office hours that both your professors and your TAs have, because you'll thank yourself at the end of your 1L.
Gianni.
Figure out how you study the best.
That's a good one. Albert.
Attend everything.
With an emphasis on class.
Yay, needs you to, yeah.
Yes. Meghna.
I would say just be willing to ask for help and reach out. Like if you're struggling or have questions, definitely reach out to anyone. They're always happy to answer your question.
Alex Murray.
I give this advice to my 1L students a lot, and that is, do not forget to take care of yourself. Things do get very overwhelming very quickly. It feels like you have a million obligations at once, because you do, but burnout is very real, and it's absolutely okay to take time off for yourself. Don't feel pressured to have to be the best all the time. You have to take care of yourself.
That is very good advice, and actually gives me a chance to plug our wellness program. I have a couple of students who've been working with me, and we actually have a board member who has given us a gift for wellness initiatives. And many of my fellow deans of students are very jealous of us for that reason. But we have really been putting an emphasis on that, and trying to do lots of educational and physical fitness programs around wellness. We actually today, Professor Walker, who is the director of our library, led a Zoom meditation. And I am not good at meditation, let me just tell you, but it was unbelievable that there were probably, I don't know, almost maybe like 15 people that Zoomed in, and it was great. And he's now decided to do that every Friday. So I agree. And you're listening to all of the things that these students, unbelievable students, have done. But you should not feel like you have to do everything. And maybe you're just not someone who wants to get this involved. That's fine too. We're just here to give you, sort of the lay of the land and things that you can do, but you have to do what works for you, and you have to trust yourself and take care of yourself. So last but not least, the other video star, Nick, advice.
Yeah, actually kind of following up on that, I was going to say, you got to keep yourself in mind. Wellness is huge. For me, I picked up yoga in law school, so I've been doing yoga pretty much every day, even with some of the wellness initiative stuff. But my dad actually had a saying that I think is super applicable in this. It's every once in a while, you got to sharpen the knife in order to keep on cutting. And I think that's something that is, really important in law school, to be able to kind of keep your own mental health in check and keeping all that in check to sharpen the knife.
Great. Yeah, and I'm reminded that some of the other activities, we scheduled a run with Chung, and it's Professor Chung. She has, and hopefully we'll do it again soon when we're all back together. She has led a run around Albany with students. And she's an impressive runner. I might do the walking version someday, or the hiking version. I'd like to do the hiking version. So we're trying to do things like that too, to engage the faculty and have opportunities to work with the faculty. So any other questions before we? You good? Okay.
All right. Go ahead, Rosemary.
I just want to say thank you to our students who I miss dearly seeing you. I have seen you a lot, actually. And I will just tell all of you prospective students that despite what's going on, our amazing dean has been doing daily, I'm going to get it makes me get a little bit emotional, this whole thing, but she's doing daily check-ins with the law school community. So we actually have seen each other in many instances every day. It's not the same, of course, and I send you all a big hug, but it's been great, and it's just a testament to who she is and what this community is. And so thank you all for being here and taking time out of your days, which I know is not easy as you navigate your new normal. So thank you, great job. And if any of the prospective students have any questions, you please call me, reach out to me, Zoom me. Happy to answer any questions, and I hope to see you all in the fall.
All right. Thank you, Dean Queen, and thank you so much to all of our students. We can't speak highly enough of you, and you all truly are the lifeblood of Albany Law. And so as our admitted students are here learning today, I'm not surprised that there's so much, way more chat than we can cover, but I want to reassure everyone that we are going to give you all of their emails and their contact information. We'll send that to you in an email. And we are going to follow up and address all these questions, and you will have more opportunities to interact with them and other current students in future formats and conversations. We'll find fun ways to engage. And I want to ask you to send us, the admissions office or these guys, send them your ideas if you would like to engage in a certain way, if you'd like a certain format or certain type of questions, topics. We are here for you, and we want to get you the information that you want. And we want to do it in a fun way, that we really are about balance and health and wellness and success across your whole person. You get to be a whole person at Albany Law School, not just a student. So thanks to the student panelists. We are going to tee up one final short video that's hopefully going to bridge us over into sort of now moving to talk more about sort of what all of these great foundational experiences and skills and relationships that you just heard about, how they can transition you into your career. So we're going to have our Dean of Career Services moderate a panel of alumni who can tell you a little bit more about how they're still continuing that trajectory. And in order to get you sort of framed up for that, we're going to talk a little bit about our pro bono. So we want to show you this video leading into our sort of bigger impact panel that we can.
Pro bono matters because we have a professional obligation to serve those who don't have access to justice. If the justice system revolves only around the ability to pay, then the system falls apart.
Pro bono matters in
Okay, so Dean Haynes, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Am I unmuted now?
You are.
Excellent. So we'll do a take two again.
Yeah.
As we have Zoom resetting our controls. Okay. Let's see.
Pro bono matters because we have a professional obligation to serve those who don't have access to justice. If the justice system revolves only around the ability to pay, then the system falls apart.
Pro bono matters in so many ways. As somebody who has always worked in public interest, it's very important to expand your horizons and to be able to connect with communities, different socioeconomic statuses, communities of color, and anyone that's different from you and your bubble.
Pro bono matters for so many reasons. Not only do you have this great opportunity to help others, the feeling of accomplishment is better than any big case you could win.
The pro bono program at Albany Law School is a way for law students to use their expertise and interest and provide extracurricular volunteer opportunities to pursue particular types of pro bono that they wouldn't otherwise get to do. Things like an LGBT rights project, or we work with veterans to do a Veterans Law Day, and we celebrate that work through our celebration of public interest in pro bono, where we recognize the contributions of the graduating class. The impact of Albany Law School on the community is tangible and extremely valuable, and is manifest through events like the celebration of public interest in pro bono.
It's wonderful to be able to give back to our communities, and I think more and more the law firms have been trending towards giving pro bono more weight and importance, which I think is critical.
That's what we're here to do. That's what we do at Albany Law School, and that's what our graduates do throughout their careers.
Great. Thanks so much. All right. So I want to say thank you again to all of our students. And now I'm going to be looking for Dean Mary Fitzpatrick. I think that she is. There she is. I see her here. All right. So she's going to be our fearless leader for our alumni panel. And there are panelists that are going to be joining us with them as well. So take it away, Dean Fitzpatrick.
Okay. Thank you very much for that introduction, Amy, and it is so wonderful to see all of the students, current students and accepted students here today. I think, as so many people have said leading up to this point, the community at Albany Law School is truly unique. It is something that is not replicated at any other law school that I've ever been to. And the care with which your faculty, staff, administrators, and fellow students approach the community and your well-being and support as students is unparalleled, I can say with confidence. So just before we start our panel, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my background. I graduated from law school, from Brooklyn Law School in 2000. I worked for a commercial litigation firm in Manhattan for close to 7 years. After that, I went to work as an associate director of career services at Brooklyn Law School for I think about 8 years before coming up and joining the team at Albany Law School. And I've been with this team for I think a little bit over 4 years. It is the most amazing career center that I have ever been a part of. And I will tell you why. Our counselors have master's degrees in counseling. So I have a JD, we have one other counselor with a JD, and then we have 2 counselors, one of whom you saw in the chat. She's a superstar, Joanne Casey, and you will hear her name often. She has a master's in counseling, as does Colleen O'Byrne. So it makes our office very unique in that way. We also, I should let you know, we have an assistant director of recruiting who is a magician and heads up all of our very extensive recruiting programs. I think Meg Wager is on the call as well. So as you see them, I'm sure maybe they can give you a little hi, and you will get to know them extremely well at your time here, hopefully, at Albany Law School. The way the office works is that we assign students to a career counselor. So each student is working with a career counselor from the time that they enter as a 1L. And that's really meaningful because as you've heard from some of the students, the current students, we get to know you very well. And we get to watch as you learn more about yourself through experiences, through meeting with alums, through field placements and clinics. And we work with you to figure out how those experiences either confirm your interests that you came to law school with or change your interests. And that's an amazing challenge. And it's also really an amazing opportunity for all of you. So without further ado, I'd like to, hopefully all of our panelists are here on Zoom with us. I know I saw one. So let me introduce our alumni panel. I'm gonna start with the Honorable Richard Rivera. Judge Rivera is a family court judge with Albany County Family Court. He graduated in 1991. So Judge Rivera, I invite you to tell us a little bit about your work now and your background.
Okay, well, right now, I'm a sitting family court judge and I was elected in 2014 to sit on the bench. In 2017, our district decided to create a domestic violence part in family court, and they assigned me to preside over that part. And then after the governor raised the age of criminal responsibility in the state of New York for minors, they created the youth parts that handle 16 and 17-year-old defendants, and I was assigned to be the presiding judge over that. So I'm a family court judge. I preside over the DV part. I preside over the youth part. I was, in 2019, elevated to acting Supreme Court status, which means I also hear Supreme Court matters. And I was also named as the supervising judge for the domestic violence courts in the district and for the mentor courts. When I graduated from law school, I did do some practice, some criminal defense. I also did some real estate. I did some financial planning, believe it or not. I worked for the Senate and I worked for other state agencies. So that's sort of what my career has been since I graduated.
That's great. And you mentioned that when you started out, you did some criminal defense. Where did you do that work?
It was here in the city of Albany. It was a solo practitioner, and I was his assistant attorney. Great.
Okay, so thank you for that, Judge Rivera. We're going to come back to you with our list of questions. I'd like to turn now to Jasper Mills. Jasper is a 2006 alum who has started his own law firm, Mills Law Firm. Jasper, are you on the call and can you give us a little bit of background?
I am. How you doing today?
Good.
Can you guys see me?
Can see you, but we could use a little more volume.
All right. Let me adjust my little customer service headset here. Is that better?
I think it's a little better. Do you want to turn it up just a little bit more?
Let me see what we can do here. I think that's the best that I can do. Tell me if that's okay.
That's good.
Okay, okay. Good afternoon, guys. My name is Jasper Mills. Like Dean said, I graduated in 2006. After graduation, I'm originally from New Haven, Connecticut. Came to Albany Law School after I graduated from Union College. After I graduated from Albany Law School, I worked at a insurance defense firm for a couple of years, actually for a couple of months, and a corporate law firm before I got a call from the district attorney's office here in Albany County asking me if I would come over. I spent 10 years at the DA's office. A large part of my specialty over there at the DA's office was prosecuting major drug organizations. I worked with agencies like the DEA, FBI, Homeland Security, pretty much any federal agency that you can name. I've worked with them during my time there. After I left the DA's office in 2016, I spent approximately 3 years as chief counsel for the Albany County Sheriff's Office, where I oversaw all of the inner workings of the sheriff's office. After that, 2019, approximately April, May, I decided to leave the Albany County Sheriff's Office and I opened my own practice. And I've been doing that ever since.
That's terrific. Thank you very much. And our next panelist is Gabriella Levine. Gabriella graduated in 2017, and she's an associate with the law firm of Whiteman, Osterman, and Hanna. Gabriella, can you give us a little bit about your background?
Absolutely. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
First of all, hi, everyone. This is really, really cool. I think that this is a great thing that the law school is doing. I'd like to thank the law school for inviting me to participate. I'm happy to do this. This is probably the most human interaction that I've had in like the last 2 weeks working remotely, so this is great. As the dean said, I graduated from Albany Law School in 2017. Before that, I went to Union College. I was a political science and English major, graduated in 2014, which now feels like a very, very long time ago, even though it really isn't. Immediately after Albany Law School, I went straight into private practice at Whiteman, Osterman, and Hanna, which is the biggest law firm in this region. It's a full service law firm, specializes in several different areas of practice. I personally do litigation with a specialty in commercial litigation and also land use, development, and environmental litigation. I do some labor and employment law as well. And I just started my 3rd year in private practice this past September. So I'm about halfway into my 3rd year, about a quarter away. So.
Great. Thank you so much, Gabriella. We can't wait to hear a little bit more about that when we return to you. And our final panelist is Wale Salas. Wale graduated in 2019, so he is our most recent graduate on the call with us today. And he is also an associate at Whiteman, Osterman, and Hanna. I'm sure the two of you know each other. Wale, can you tell us a little bit about your background and what you're doing now?
I hope you guys can hear me.
Yep.
First of all, it's an honor to be here. It's old faces again. To give you a brief background about myself, I'm originally a native of Nigeria. For those who don't know, it's a little heart-shaped country in West Africa, roughly the size of Texas. I have a very unconventional background. I studied pharmacy back in Nigeria, and I was working in an orthopedic hospital for a number of years. And when I decided to move over to the States, to New York specifically, that was when I decided, what, it's time for kind of a switch. Something different from the emergency, hospital lifestyle. So, I decided, that I wanted, to a school in New York, and that's how I came to, attend to find Albany Law School, and now I'm with Whiteman, Austin, and Anna, and it's an honor to be there. I do different things. Like Gabriella said, it's a full service law firm. So we do different things from real estate. I've been involved in a couple of those cases. I also do some immigration. I'm very happy to be here to share my experience with you.
Great. Thank you, Wale. So I noticed in the chat that we have a question specific to Judge Rivera, and because I want to honor the students attending here who really want to find out and have their questions answered, I'm going to turn to Judge Rivera with this question. Judge Rivera, for a student who is interested in criminal law or family law, should they focus on that early on or explore different areas in law school? How would you advise them?
Well, what I would say is that they don't necessarily have to focus on that early on. It just so happens that that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a criminal defense lawyer. I wasn't really interested in prosecuting, but I did want to be a criminal defense lawyer because I ultimately wanted to be a criminal court judge. So there really is no need for you to focus on that while you're in law school. There are courses that you can take. There's the mandatory one freshman year, but there's some electives thereafter. But if you do want to be in criminal law and you want to do criminal defense or even prosecution, you can get an internship with the DA's office after your first year. You can seek employment either during the summer or during your second or third year with a local attorney or law firm. There are ways where you can get the experience that you want and need without having to necessarily focus strictly on criminal law. So it's really up to you. It's not required, it's not necessary, but you certainly can decide to do that if you choose to. Perhaps Jasper can also add to that, considering he went into the DA's office himself, but that would be what I would recommend.
Jasper, do you want to add a little bit to that?
No problem, no problem. Yeah, I think that going into the DA's office was it was a great experience for me. Personally, while I was in law school, what I did was I took advantage of as many opportunities that I could to litigate that I possibly could. I really didn't know what I was going to do when I was in law school. I didn't know what kind of area of law I was going to go into. So I kind of just took those classes outside of the electives that I was interested in. However, I fell in love with litigation through doing trial clinics, which turned into trial competitions, regional and national competitions. So when I got into the DA's office, I took every opportunity that I could to get that experience. By the time I left the DA's office, I had litigated probably over 100 jury trials, and have done probably some of the most complicated trials in recent upstate history. But what I would suggest that you do is if that's what you want to do, is focus on litigation. Don't worry about the criminal law per se aspect right now, because you're going to have to take that class in order to graduate. But be comfortable in a courtroom. Know what you're doing when it's time to litigate, so that when you have those internships, you're not stuck behind a desk, or you're not stuck with an ADA or that's nervous about giving you that experience.
And so you mentioned to take advantage of opportunities in law school to get that litigation experience. It sounds like you're describing some great moot court competitions. Was there a favorite competition that you participated in, or several, or a favorite clinic of yours that helped you to gain the skills?
Well, for me, it was the trial practice classes that I really enjoyed. Those were classes that were taught by actual practicing litigators that go out there on a regular basis and are trying cases that are there to give you, techniques that they use, advice that they've put in place. And then there was also competitions outside of the school. There are trial teams that the law school has that they go out and they litigate and they go against other schools in different areas. I was involved in quite a few of those throughout my time there, and it's just a nice way to gauge yourself, not just against people in your school, but against people in other schools. Because when you go out into the real world and when you're trying cases, you're not just trying cases against people that graduated from law school. You're trying cases against New York City attorneys, against attorneys from upstate, downstate, Western New York, and so on and so forth. So, and it's also a way to get your name out there and to forge relationships with other attorneys, because you're going to be in positions where you're going to have to call other people if you have an issue you've never dealt with, people that you could trust, people that have that experience and have gone through those things that will be able to give you an honest to God and practical answer.
Yeah, that's great. So it sounds to me like you too are talking about the community and the network and the connections you make as a law student and using them when you're a practicing attorney. Gabriella, I'm wondering if you can tell us, first of all, did you know what you wanted to do when you entered law school?
My answer to this is probably weird and different because I did know what I wanted to do. And a lot of people don't typically know, and that's perfectly okay and probably preferable to go in with an open mind and a blank slate, being open to options. I more so went in with the overall goal of coming out to be a litigator. And I was really, really interested in private practice. That was coming into law school. That interest only heightened when I was actually in law school. I too did some mock trial competitions. Once I got the litigation bug from doing so, it never really left me. I also had really great relationships with some students who were, in the upper classes who also went on to private practice, whether it was in Albany or in New York City. They spoke very highly of their experiences. And to me, it just seemed like a very exciting and fast-paced environment to be in. Now, with that being said, I noticed that somebody had put in the chat a question of whether upon joining private practice, we were sort of pigeonholed into one area of the law or not. I can speak to my experience being in a very large law firm. That's definitely not the case. I was fortunate enough to be given the opportunity in my law firm to test the waters in a lot of different practice areas. So while I ultimately had the goal to do litigation, I didn't walk through the doors and just start litigating. I did everything. I, tried real estate. I did a lot of corporate work. I did labor and employment work. I dabbled in immigration. I did health law. And eventually, probably right around the end of my first year in private practice was when, I started working mostly, streamlining it with litigation work. To this day, though, I still don't solely do litigation. I think that's by virtue of being in a big law firm that has a lot of different practice areas available to me. but I have found it overall to be in my best interest in my early years as an associate in private practice to have a broad array of knowledge, to not be confined to just being a litigator. You know, if a client calls and has a question related to litigation, that same client might call back one day having a question wholly unrelated to litigation that you need to be prepared to answer, and answer in a way that makes it seem like you know what you're talking about. So it's always been in my best interest and in my belief that you shouldn't ever confine yourself to just one area of the law. You know, I don't want to speak to anybody else's experiences, but a lot of my classmates that I graduated with had no idea what they wanted to do when they got to Albany Law School, but through the various opportunities that were available to them, whether it was field placements or participating in clinics, which I'm sure you've heard about from students in a prior panel, or doing internships or externships, it sort of opened up their eyes to the many different hats that you can wear as an attorney. I think the quintessential thing that most of us think of when we hear attorney is somebody who's in a courtroom every single day, and that's just most certainly not the case.
Here we go. I would imagine, Gabriella, that you know many people who went to practice law that is not litigation, right? I mean, many of your colleagues are working in transactional and corporate law and all. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that probably the majority of those that I was closest with in law school went on to do transactional work.
Okay. I think you're absolutely right. What we hear the most about are those trial attorney positions because of, you know, pop culture and Law and Order and all of those great shows that are really exciting, but that's not the whole picture, right? So just one more question before I pop over to Wale. Did you have a favorite experience in law school, whether it be a field placement that you enjoyed the most, a course, extracurricular?
Probably my favorite experience that I look most fondly upon was doing the senior prize trials. So the senior prize trials is a year-long trial competition broken down by semester, and you're given 2 different cases and you do it with a partner. It's obviously a mock trial, but the school does a really great job structuring it in a way that makes it as real as possible. And you advance through these different rounds if you succeed. And by your second semester, you're actually having, you know, real judges come in and preside over your trials. That was a really good experience, I thought, and it was beneficial for me because I ultimately became a litigator. I can't stress enough how important it is, even if you have no interest in doing litigation, to get involved in a competition like that, just so you can have some opportunities on your feet in the moment. You know, advocacy skills, public speaking skills, those will benefit you down the road, whether or not you're going to be a litigator or do something else. I have now a lifelong friendship with the partner that I did my senior prize trials competition with, and we both felt that it was incredibly beneficial for us and for our careers. And I think second to that experience is probably the judicial placements that I had during law school. So I worked in the chambers of Judge May D'Agostino for an entire year. She's a federal judge in the Northern District of New York, which is located right here in Albany. And by the way, in case you haven't already heard, which I'm sure you have, Albany, in addition to being the seat of the state's government, also has the federal courthouse here for the Northern District, but maybe even more importantly, the New York Court of Appeals, which is the highest state in New York. It also has the appellate division, third department, and other lower courts. But in terms of having the Court of Appeals here, you're really, you know, not just in the seat of the government, but in the seat of the judiciary in the state of New York. So I worked at the federal court with Judge D'Agostino. She is probably one of my greatest mentors and will be throughout my career. She has a way of taking law students under her wing, particularly Albany Law students, every single year. She shows you the ins and outs. She has a wealth of trial experience and just general experience as a lawyer that she is always willing to impart on law students. I also did a placement in the Court of Appeals as well, which was a unique opportunity. Being here in Albany, I was able to do that during the school year as a 3L in my third and final year in the law school. That was an opportunity that, if you're in a different law school, if you're in a city law school or something like that, really would have been difficult to do, to actually be there in the court, in the New York Court of Appeals. And I really loved that opportunity as well. So probably mock trial and then the judicial placements were my favorite.
That's terrific. Thank you for sharing that, Gabriella. Wale, did you know what you wanted to do with your law degree when you entered law school?
Just like a lot of the other panelists mentioned, I honestly did not know. I was treading new waters. Basically, like I was I was completely lost. I mean, to be honest, like in the beginning, I thought I wanted to do domestic violence because there were certain issues in my family that I thought a law degree was going to help me try to settle. And I mean, it has helped me, but I mean, coming into law school, there are just so many resources that were made available to us as students. There were like for me specifically, I also got the MBA from SUNY Albany, from the affiliation with the law school. And, that kind of opened my eyes to like a totally different area of law. That's the transactional area of law that, that I'm now very interested in. A part of me also wanted to explore opportunities in healthcare. So, I definitely didn't know in the beginning exactly, where I was going to end up. I just knew, hey, I'm here to learn and, I'll figure it out as I go along. But one thing I did notice was, when I did have like conversations with fellow students and all, most of us didn't know exactly where we're going to end up. And that's the great thing about being a lawyer, I guess, is that, it's one of the only professions that, allows you to, like Gabby said, wear different hats at any point in your career. And, this is something that's definitely been echoed by a lot of professors I spoke to about this, because it was a concern for me. And I spoke to professors. I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do. And, many of them shared their experiences, and they told me that even they themselves weren't sure, when they left law school, exactly where they ended up, where they would end up. And, many of them had to change careers at some point at some point in time. So, I definitely didn't know, and even now, there's still a little bit of soul searching, but it's getting narrower and narrower every day. And I think
That's great. It sounds like you're identifying really the core of a legal education, right? That it provides this ability to develop skills in communication and analysis and reading and writing well, that all of which are transferable, right, throughout your career. So could you tell me, if you can, choose one experience in law school that you feel helped you to build the foundational skills that you use now?
Wow, there's so many actually. So it's always very difficult to pick one in particular. But one particular, like the one that stands out was, I mean, coming from a very unconventional background, I had to develop new skills. I wasn't very confident in myself coming into law school. And, I had to pretty much go down to the fundamentals, try to relearn, a lot of, things that, we already learned long time ago. I'm talking about, language basics and stuff like that. And, coming to law school, one thing that did help me solidify solidify my skills and my knowledge here was actually my first legal internship, which I had with the Office of the Attorney General, the New York Office of the Attorney General. It wasn't until then, after taking, all the first year classes that I, figured out, wow, okay, this is actually working out, and I felt, that experience was very important, going along, because it was after that experience, after interacting with so many attorneys, at the Attorney General's office, it wasn't until then that I became a little bit more confident in, the outlook of, how my career was going to turn out. There were so many Albany Law alumni at the office of Attorney General. We were able to meet with the we're able to take tours of the Capitol. It was a all around great program, and that's definitely one that stands out for me.
That's great, Wally. Thank you so much for sharing that. So I want to just turn back. I recognize that we're running a little short on time, but I want to turn back to each one of you to ask you 2 questions. So I'll start with Judge Rivera. Judge Rivera, is there something that first of all, is there something you wish you knew during law school about the longevity of a career or the arc of a career that you'd like to share with our prospective law students? And yeah, well, let's start with that.
Well, something that I wish I'd known, I would have to say, because I think I said, and if not, I'll say it now. When I went to law school, I actually knew what I wanted to do, and I think I may have said, I ultimately did want to become a judge. I wish that I had known a little more about how to become a judge. I did speak to Professor Seda, and he gave me some good advice, and I spoke to some other people that I knew. But there were certain parts of it that they were not able to share with me that I wish I had learned earlier, because perhaps I would have become a member of the bench much sooner. And that is because there's a whole political aspect that's involved with becoming a judge that most people are not aware of, and that you necessarily don't know unless someone actually shares that part with you. But I have to say that there's very little else, because I did get some good advice from Professor Seda on what he believed was the way to do it, and he was pretty much accurate in what he told me. And that's why I answer it that way, because I think law school pretty much gave me a lot of what I needed to get to where I am now.
Thank you. All right, so in the interest of time, let me go to Jasper, and same question. Is there something that you wish you knew before you started law school or while you were in law school? I think, Jasper, you're muted there.
All right, I'm good. All right, so one thing that I wish that I knew coming into law school was how to take a law school exam. I came from an inner city neighborhood, inner city community, went to, for the most part, inner city schools, where you're asked a question and you give an answer to a question, right? It's really simple. In law school, it's not like that. Right. In law school, really the bottom line answer is really the least of a professor's concerns. It's more the analysis that goes into it from both sides. So I kind of wish that I knew that a little bit more, because I didn't come from a background where I had attorneys in my family. It actually was the quite opposite. So I wish that was something that I had a grasp on a little bit more. Also, like I said, the best advice that I can give you is get the practical experience. The practical experience, even if you don't know what you want to do, like I said, the litigation experience that I got while I was in law school has done me a great deal of benefit, because that's a skill that you could take with you for the rest of your life. That's a skill that's transferable to almost every aspect of law. So try to make yourself as marketable as possible. Try to broaden your horizons as much as possible. It's nice to know a little bit about everything, You don't have to be a master at one thing, you know. You could be, you know, a jack of all trades. You can know a sufficient amount about, you know, as much as possible. Because like the other panelists said, that you're not going to have a client come through the door that's going to ask one type of question every time. And also be able to, if you don't know an answer, figure it out relatively quickly. That's the way that you're going to survive in the professional world.
Jasper, I know you're an adjunct professor. Can you talk about how just touch on that briefly, how your law degree led to that?
Oh, absolutely. How you doing today, Persia? Yeah, I teach criminal justice and paralegal studies at Bryan and Stratton College. I've also taught at Siena College. I'd be interested one day in coming and teaching trial practice at Albany Law School, but we'll talk about that. But yeah, I was around 2009. I've been teaching about 11 years now. Around 2009, I started teaching at Bryan and Stratton, and then at Siena. I felt that it was an obligation of mine, especially at Bryan and Stratton, based on everything that I've been through in life, and the people that have come into my life to give me a break here and there, to kind of pay back to especially that community where you have you know, majority minorities, majority low socioeconomic type of communities, where I believe that those individuals also deserve the same level of instruction that one would receive at a Siena or a SUNY, and so on and so forth. So I've been teaching there. It doesn't pay the bills, but it does a lot for my soul. So it's been a great experience for me. I've taught everything from criminal law and procedure to real property to contracts. And it also does a lot for me personally to be able to brush up on those areas of law so that I can apply those in my practice as well.
Great. Thank you for that. Gabriella, I'm going to pass the baton to you now. So is there something you wish you knew then that you wish that you know now?
You know, if I had to probably pick one thing, it's that everything is ultimately going to be okay, and it's gonna work out. And that when you get to law school, you're playing a long game, and it might seem like in the moment every little thing matters more than anything else in the world, and you know, it's raining on you and it's black clouds over your head, and you're gonna have a moment where you say to yourself, oh my God, why did I do this? How did I get myself into that? But I promise you, you're all gonna have that moment, and then you're gonna come out on the other side of it being better for it, and being thankful that you know, for lack of a better way to put it, trusted the process. And you know, to kind of piggyback off of that, I wish that I knew earlier on at Albany Law School, probably in my 1L year, that there was a support network of professors who were really available to me in a way that I probably didn't appreciate until I was a 2L or a 3L. Because it's a small law school and a relatively small learning environment, you have an opportunity to really lean on your professors and really take a lot from them, whether it's by way of advice or by way of experience and, you know, learning and support. There were a group of professors who really, really looked out for me in law school, who took me under their wings, and who were there for any question that I had, whether it was about law school, about life, you know, what have you. They were there from start to finish. And I kind of wish that I knew that sooner rather than later, so that I could have taken advantage of it earlier. Thankfully, I eventually did, and those professors are lifelong mentors to me, and I'll be eternally grateful to them. But overall, I wish probably that I knew all along that it would all work out and it would be great one day. But in the moment, it's hard. Law school's hard. And you've got to sort of lean into the challenge of it and be accepting of it, and understand that one day you're going to have something really, really valuable, and you're going to work for that value, which is a law degree at the end of the day.
That's terrific advice. Thank you very much. And Wale, I will end with you. And you're the most recent graduate, right? So this is probably very close to you. Is there one thing that you wish you had known while you were in law school that you know now?
For me, definitely just, it's a little similar to Gabriella's point. I definitely wished I knew not to fear, to put it, that fear of uncertainty was something that kind of, ate me up, in the beginning. And, I wish I knew then that, I had a very, very, very functional support network. Now I know, how closely knit the Albany Law community is. It's, there's professors, everyone, pretty much everyone on this screen, that's not an accepted student is out there to make sure it all works out for you. And, that could have saved me a lot of stress right there in the beginning. Everyone's there to make sure it works. As long as you put in the work, as long as you, do your reading and, and you're there to learn, they're there to provide the opportunities. They're there to provide, to facilitate your learning and to give you all the resources you need to become that successful lawyer. And if I had known that at the beginning, then I wouldn't have to worry, because it just means things would eventually work out. So definitely if I had known that, it would save me so much stress in the beginning. So that's something, the one thing that stands out for me.
I'd like to brag about Wale because he won't do it, but he completed a joint degree program, JD MBA, in 3 years, and also graduated with honors. So good job, Wale.
Thank you very much, Persia. I couldn't have done it without everyone's help.
That's great. Well, thank you. I want to see that we're out of time, but I want to sincerely thank our panelists for sharing your experiences. I think you've done a terrific job providing insight into the community that makes Albany Law so special, and the network and the foundational skills that you have learned at Albany Law that continue to make you the successful professionals that you are. I see that someone has asked if you wouldn't mind sharing your contact information, so I'll let you work that out with Persia behind the scenes, and turn it over to Dean Mangione.
All right, thanks, Mary, and all. We're grateful for your time. So that is sort of the end of the formal presentation for now, but I do just want to reiterate, we will be following up. I feel like you've given us so much to work off of with your chat and your questions, and we can't wait to sort of have those deeper conversations. We will be providing contact information and follow up for all of the panelists that you heard from today throughout the day. But as we say goodbye, I want to turn it over to our president and dean, Alicia Willett.
All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging in for a great day, and to everyone who contributed. Normally at this time in our Admitted Students Day, we hold a cocktail party. So we can't do that. We're not all together, but we asked, put out a call to community members if they wanted to jump on, and thought we'd send you off with an Albany Law School send off with congratulations. And I've been keeping track of the people who have jumped on, and there's quite a few. I'm gonna call people out and ask you to turn on your video if you're not on this list, but so you know. We have some members of our Board of Trustees here. The chair of the Board of Trustees, Jim Hacker. Jim, you want to just say literally 2 words of hello?
Hi, everybody. Thanks for attending our open house, and we hope we see you in September.
Excellent. Diane Phillips, member of the Board of Trustees.
I have to unmute, I think. I can't find her.
Oh,
there we go. Now I got it. Sorry, I dialed in. So hello from Cape Cod for this Boston-based lawyer.
Dale Tillis, see you up there. Another member.
Yes. Hello, everybody. And I particularly want to congratulate Amy and everybody else who put this together in such short order. And looks like you did a great job. And I hope we'll
Thank
be
you.
able to meet all these incoming students personally in the near future.
Thanks, Dale.
Tim O'Hara, are you still on? Not sure if he was able to stay. No? Okay. And I'm going to read a bunch of names, tell you where they're from. Everyone, as I read your name, please show us your face. I'm not going to call on everyone because I know it's been a long day, but we'll do a little Albany Law send-off after I get through all the people that I saw join, and apologies to anyone that I missed. I saw Bill Gaskell from the library, Meg Wager from the Career and Professional Development Center, Peter Padone from Institutional Advancement, Professor Rahan from the faculty, Joanne Casey from the Career and Professional Development Center, Rosetta Rollins from the Justice Center, Samara Doward from the Business Office, Victor Rauscher from the Business Office, Troy Riddle, who's our Assistant Dean for Diversity and Inclusion, Clay Gustav, who works with the faculty in the online programs. You've got your entire admissions staff. Kathleen Carroll from the Justice Center, Lori Law from the Registrar's Office.
Hey, Lori.
Marco Sabad from Communications, Professor Ava Ayers, Katrina Alina from Admissions. Now I haven't been shouting out to all the admissions people, but Lewis Jim, Professor Lewis Jim, Nilsa Valila from Human Resources, Professor Joe Buffington, who is our Director of Bar Success, and let's see, Colleen O'Byrne from the Career and Professional Development Center, Katie Suetoni from Institutional Advancement, Professor Debbie Mann, you're out there somewhere, wave hello, Professor Melissa Brieger, and Professor Ray Brescia. If we could all unmute, we're going to do sort of a virtual toast and send off to the next class. And Dean Mangione, what year will they be? The class of?
Well, 2023 or 4 if there's a 3 or 4 year program.
All right, so the next new class of Albany Law, let's say cheers and good luck. And if we can all give a big shout out, we are Albany Law on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, we are Albany Law.
We are Albany Law.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, everyone. Just stay in touch. Can't wait to meet you in person. With that, we end the meeting.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Always great to see everyone.